All right, everybody, breaking news. Tony Vitello from the Tennessee Volunteers is the new manager of the San Francisco Giants. It is official. We're going to get going right now as we get this show underway. All right, everybody, welcome on in. NorCal Sports Network. Tony Vitello. Italiano. New manager, San Francisco Giants. Buster Posey gets his man, and we're going to talk about it. Welcome on in. Breaking news. Yes, you got it. We're going to bring in some guests here. I'll have some people from Nashville, or Knoxville, I should say, Knoxville, that are very close to Tony, join the show, and we'll keep it right here, and you're going to want to keep it right here, NorCal Sports Network. We'll have Lou Marston be joining us. I've got this out, and anybody who wants to join in, jump in, give us your thoughts. We'll let you know. This show's brought to you by Chapman Law Group. Chapman Law Group, located in Marin, licensed in all of California. Make sure you give Chapman Law Group a call for all your legal needs. 415-613-9483. Chapman Law Group for all your legal needs. You got a personal injury situation, let Chapman Law Group, give them a call. Let them know NorCal Sports Network sent you. All right, guys, fired up. I got to get a lot done here with my... Lou Marston is busy right now, but he will join us shortly. So let me get that out there. 1 second here. Twitter is starting to blow up. I had a feeling this was coming down this morning, and I just texted someone that said that I thought he was going to take the job. I thought he was going to take the job based on the facts. And he told his team yesterday he didn't know what he was going to do, but whatever happened, they would be in great hands. That tells me, or told me, he was going to take the job. So Tony Vitello is the manager. And look, a lot of people said he finally took the job. Look, he only could have taken it announced as early as yesterday, Tuesday, because you had the American League Championship Series going on Sunday and Monday. Look how much publicity this brought to the Giants. And I like this move, guys. I know a lot of people don't like it. Senior loves it. Senior knows ball, I'll tell you that. Senior knows ball, and he knows there's a lot of people that say the Giants got to get an experienced manager. You got to have someone experienced. Well, let me ask you this, guys. You just had Bob Melvin, who's 20th all-time on the managerial win list. I just put out a tweet. In fact, or I didn't put the tweet out. I was responding to Giants hot takes. People are like, hey, this is risky. Got to have someone with experience. Well, how did that work with Bob Melvin? He's 20th all-time on the win list. More wins than Tommy Lasorda. More wins than Earl Weaver. More wins than just forgot his name. Dick Williams. 3 all-time managers. Williams won a World Series. Lasorda won a World Series. And so did Earl Weaver. They all won World Series. And Bob Melvin had more wins than all 3 of those guys. And yet we didn't hire an experienced manager. Give me a break. You got to think outside the box. That's right, Philip. Thinking outside the box is what you got to do. And I think this move is going to pay off. You have nothing. Look, the Giants have been a third-place team, a fourth-place team for the last 4 years. They've been boring as what all get out, right? And to not have to go with a experienced manager. Come on, they can afford to do this. Is it risky? Sure, it's risky. It could be very risky. But what's the worst can happen? I mean, just doesn't work out, right? What's to say? No pain, no gain, no risk, no reward. I think Tony's going to be great out here. I really do. This guy is a bright man, and I am going to reach out as soon as I get some other guests to come in and co-host. Lou Marston will be joining us. He's busy with some things he's got to take care of, but let me take time to get my tweet out here and get this out. 1 sec here. Anybody want to come in? Hey, you know what? Let me put the link in, and if you guys can join, anybody wants to hop in here, give me your thoughts while I do some background work. I got to get a few things taken care of. So let me put the link out right now, and then I'll give you the floor and get your thoughts while I work on a few things. So there's the link. Anybody wants to come in? Yeah. Hey, there's a lot of guys that managed with no managerial experience, right? You talk about Stephen Vogt. Dusty Baker was a coach, became the manager. How about, a lot of successful coaches have become managers or head coaches in the NFL. Bill Walsh, the greatest coach in my opinion, the greatest coach in the NFL history. He never had head coach experience before he was an assistant, but he became a head coach. So somebody's got to be it. We'll see. Ron Raquel, new member. Thank you, Ron. Good to have you here. Good to see you. As more and more people come in, I've got the link. If anybody wants to jump into the chat, I will be. Give me 1 second here while I take care of a tweet. Just take me a moment here. Just get me 1 sec here while I do this. Okay. Hold on. You know what? I can't do two things at once. So all right, here we got Gerald Skiles that's going to join us. His device is not connected yet. We'll wait for Gerald to get his device connected. We'll bring him in, get his thoughts. Hey, Sue. Yeah, Mark Gray says you're short-minded if you think a guy has to play in the big leagues to be a manager. I agree. Gerald Skiles, no, he has no mic. Okay, Gerald, you need a mic. 1 second here while I do this. This is hard for me to do two things at once. I'm trying to get something tweeted out so I can get this news out there to more people. Let me just take my time here. Give me 1 sec. We're live right now, but I will get this done here. And sorry here. I just, when you're doing it all by yourself, it's not easy to set up everything and then do the work here. So I just got to dig through here. Give me a sec. I got a good crew that does things for me, but they got day jobs, right? And there's students. Bora's a student. Ryan's got a day job. So, well, for some reason, I am not finding the heck with it. Just can't get it done. So, well, Maybe it's in here. We'll find it. Ryan said, "What are you trying to do?" Trying to tweet it out. Okay. All right. Let's see, guys. All right. Chad says, "Good morning. How are you?" Great, guys. This is I'm excited about this. Why am I excited? People want to know. I know there's a lot of people, and look, we all have opinions on this, right? And everybody is entitled to their opinion. I've got people I really like and respect that hate this move. They think it's pathetic. And I got people that I've talked to that love it. What do the Giants have to lose in all of this by taking a risk by hiring a very, very successful college coach? That's right. Ryan says 120 in the chat, only 13 likes. Smash that like, guys. If you would do that right now, it would help tremendously. Gets this pushed out. The more likes we got, the more people that will get pushed out to. So go ahead and smash that like button, and that will really be much appreciated. I'm going to try and get to as many comments as I can. If you want to have your comments read at the top, make sure you either, members get their comments read like Ron Raquel, or just do a super chat, because I've got a lot of chats in here coming in. We've got climbing right now. We've got over 570 people between Twitter and YouTube watching, and I expect it to climb probably over to 1,000. I think we're the only ones on right now live from a San Francisco standpoint talking about this move. Give me your thoughts, guys. What are your thoughts on this move? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you just mid on it? I want to know what your thoughts are. Look, the Giants have been mid, right? They've been boring. They played a horrible brand of baseball. Tony Vitello is an exceptional manager. I'm going to get Tony Basilio on at some point during this live stream. In fact, I'm going to text him right now and send him the link. Copy. Let's see. Let me get copy, and I will send this to my friend Tony. One sec here, guys. Tony, okay. 1 second. All right, give me 1 sec, guys. Jeez. Trying to text, invite guest is not easy doing it all by yourself. One sec while I mute myself. All right. So hopefully we will get Tony Basilio from Knoxville, who's a friend of Tony Vitello. He will give us a great update and rundown what you can expect from Tony. I think a lot of people really are, I've read a lot on Giants fans who are a little bit less than thrilled with this. They think it's a sign of desperation. Well, and then the funny thing is, the same people, I've questioned Buster Posey, right, on a lot of things about him as a manager, and I've questioned whether he has the ability to actually do this job as president of baseball operations. And I I got to crack up at some of the people who love Buster and think Buster is going to do it all, and they hate this hire. They think Buster, they don't think, and I'm like, how do you say Buster, we believe everything in Buster, but then you hate the move? You're kind of like saying, well, you don't believe Buster can do it. So I don't know. It's kind of a question mark for me. Let me see if I can send some more text out here, guys. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I got to text people to invite them on the show. All right, guys. Unprecedented, says James. Unprecedented. Mark Gravy Grave says, Dan, they could have hired Bochy back and there would have been fans complaining. Yeah, there's always going to be people that complain, Mark. No one's ever going to be 100% happy. Look, I think it's great because he's going to bring a different level that the Giants haven't had as far as communication. This guy knows a lot about baseball. He's not just a college man. This guy is a motivator. He's a great communicator. He's fundamentally sound. David Hughes says, I've never seen a college coach jump straight. Nope. This is the very first time, David. Very first time a college coach has jumped straight to the major leagues with no major league experience. Pat Murphy, the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, managed Arizona State and then Notre Dame, but he also, before he became a manager of the Brewers, had over 10 years, maybe even 15 years of coaching experience at the major league level. So this is a first, and it's going to be a challenge. But I'll tell you what, this guy's up for the challenge. This guy is really up for the challenge. And so I think I think you're going to see, hey, look, he's also very close friends with Bryce Harper. Now, there's not a spot for Bryce Harper to play anywhere, right? Unless he went back to the outfield. I doubt it. But imagine if you got, I don't know, there's a lot of things you can do. There's a guy from Japan that plays third base. The Giants are going to have to make some roster changes at some point. I think Vitello is let me see if we've got any terms of the deal yet. Let me see. I'm looking here to see if we've got anything in terms of the deal. Tennessee baseball coach Tony Vitello is finalizing a deal to become the next manager of the San Francisco Giants. Vitello, 47, will be the first ever to jump from college coach to major league manager without any professional experience. Okay. Nothing is terms. No terms have been announced yet. So we'll see when that takes place. Joe Boyd says Mike Krukow is wrong. Every candidate they were interviewing had no managerial experience. Yeah, they interviewed Kirk Suzuki. They interviewed Nick Hundley. Well, Brandon Hyde did have managerial experience, Joe. They did interview Brandon Hyde, and Brandon Hyde was the manager of the Baltimore Orioles. In fact, he was fired earlier this season. So there is a guy that they did hire in Brandon Hyde. Aaron says, if this was Farhan's move, would supporters feel the same way? Great question, Aaron. I think people would be probably flipping out more. Look, there's people that love Buster that said he can do this job and they trust in Buster 100%, and they're against this move. And then there's guys like me who's kind of questioned a little bit of Buster about some of, can he do this job? And I actually think I like this move because where did Bob Melvin get you? One of the most experienced managers around today. 1,678 wins, 20th all time in Major League Baseball. Bob Melvin, more wins than Tommy Lasorda, Dick Williams, and Earl Weaver. 3 managers in the Hall of Fame. And you had a super experienced manager, and they couldn't even get to above 500 with Bob Melvin in 2 seasons, right? They went 79 and 83 and 81 and 81. So I don't think having to have an experienced manager is the answer. It could be, but saying that you have to have an experienced manager versus having someone with no manager experience at the big league level. Look, there's a lot of guys. How about Dusty Baker when he came? Did he have any managerial experience? 1993, the Giants won 103 games in his very first season. Look, managers or not, you're going to have the horses, right? I mean, that 93 team had Matt Williams, Barry Bonds, Will Clark, okay? Look, any one of us could have managed that team. Everyone that's listening right now could have managed that Giants team, and they would have won 95-plus games, right? They had the horses. It was a great team. So you can have the greatest manager. You know, Bruce Bochy, guys, he is 6th all-time in Major League wins, Bruce Bochy. But he's also lost more games than he's won. People kind of forget that. He's won 3 World Series title, or 4. 3 with the Giants and 1 with the Rangers, which is great. We think Bruce Bochy is an all-time great manager, a Hall of Famer. But just because you've got that resume doesn't mean you're going to win all the time. And, you know, look at Dave Roberts down at Dodgers, okay? You think Dave Roberts is making that much of a difference? I don't think so. It's the team. The team is loaded, right? Put Dave Roberts as the Giants manager this past year. Do they win more than 81 games? Maybe they win a game or 2 more. I don't think Dave Roberts. It's all about the players, right? You got to have the players. But Tony Vitello is going to help develop players. And he's going to be able to get them to play a little bit better. So I think you've got to consider that the Giants are going to be learning, you know, they're going to have to draft and develop well. Tony can help them with that. He's not the scout. He's not the head of the front office, but he'll have a voice, right? He'll have a voice. He will know a lot of these players. Propa 499 says manager is important, but not as much as the roster. Exactly. Need to pay up for pitching and contact hitters. What would you do for the roster this offseason, Dan? Okay, great question, Propa. I would add 2 to 3 starting pitchers, one of them being Ranger Suarez. I like Adrian Hauser. I like Framber Valdez. I don't think you can get Valdez and Suarez because I think that'll be too costly. But if you can get one of those guys and get someone like an Adrian Hauser and maybe add another starter that's not going to cost you a lot of money. I'd add 3 starters. I'd go work on my bullpen. I'd make sure that I might even try and sign 5 starters, right? I might go out and sign 5 starters. Some of the guys that are lesser known, not lesser known, but not, they can pitch innings, but they wouldn't be top of the line starters. And those guys could be in my bullpen so that when starters go down, I have enough to fill it. I don't want to see guys like Tristan Beck and Keaton Wynn and Kaiwei Ting. I don't want to see those guys anymore. Those are the guys I'm like, relying on those guys is going to get you nowhere. Aaron Law says, again, only a Pobo in Posey's position, part owner, can afford to take a risk like this. I think he meant can. Yeah. Only Posey can take this risk, right? Because he's part owner. Any other president of baseball ops is probably not hiring a coach from college without any managerial experience or coaching experience at the big league level. Look, Tony's never even not only coached at the major league level, he never played in the minor leagues. So this is all new to him. So I get where some people think that he can't do the job. But a guy like Tony, who thrives off of people saying he can't do something, okay? And I think you're going to see the Giants be a very fundamentally sound team in spring training. I watched spring training. I live here in Arizona where the Giants have their spring training. I go out to watch their practices. I don't see much difference in the fundamentals of what they're teaching than what they do for everybody. I think there's going to have to really be an emphasis at the lower levels in the minors and all the way up. And we saw, look at Elliot Ramos last year. Here's a guy that is super talented that didn't know how to run the bases. And why do I say that? Because I watched Ramos with his little league inside the park homer when they threw it past first base on a slow roller, and he's running to second base. The whole time he's turning his head, looking around where the ball is to see if he's going to go to, and he never turns and looks over at the third base coach. That's just fundamentals of the game that if he can't learn that, it's going to have to be drilled into your head. You have a third base coach there for a reason. You don't have to turn your head. You look at the third base coach. Ramos started to stop on that play. In fact, he did stop at second and then realized the third base coach was waving him on. He could have went into third base standing up. And I saw him do it more than once, not look at the third base coach. I saw players run through the third base, through Matt Williams' stop signs this year. I saw players completely ignore things. So, they were pathetic fundamentally. I think Vitello can come in and help these guys really drill this down. And we'll see. We'll see how it works, guys. But it is a huge day for the Giants. And like I say, we will let me send out an invitation here to a couple other people here. All right. So anyway, we will definitely be bringing to you people as they come in. All right. Hey, Austin Senior says, welcome, my man. You come over from Tony's show. All right. Yeah, Tony Basilio is probably going live. He's probably live right now. Let me just text him. I just got to do this real quick. Network. One second here, guys. Sorry. All right. We welcome in the legend himself, the great Lou Marston.
Hey, how are you? Sorry,
I'm great.
With Breeders' Cup at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. So,
but I was enjoying your show, and I had good free 10 minutes before the top of the hour, so I at least wanted to comment a little bit and
love
what you're doing on the show and everything. Well, I think it's really tough to judge because really it's really unknown, except for Pat Murphy, who came from college to the coaching, and then he became the manager of Milwaukee. We're going off a guy in college who's a good motivator and a good recruiter. With our team, I think with a little bit older crowd, I don't know how that's going to turn out. I think it's one of these things where last year we got to give Buster a year. Now with Tony, we're going to have to give him another year. And then knowing the Giants' luck, then we'll have the lockout. We won't know anything. So it's, one of those things where, again, I think really if this fails, Buster will be known as one of the worst president of operations ever. And we're only going to go back for him being a great player because he couldn't succeed on this. I thought somebody brought up a great comment. If he wasn't part owner, he probably wouldn't have taken this risk. I forgot who that was. That might have been Aaron.
That was Aaron. That was
Aaron. So I thought that was a great one.
Make that dough cookies.
Yep. So, I don't think any of this really matters if they don't pick up free agents, because as we know, and Dan, you've been saying this, we don't really want the same team next year. We need a lot. So if knowing the Giants, being safe, being cheap, we know right now we need a lot. We need at least probably 2 starting pitchers, at least, even though I think we need more. We probably need 5 guys in the bullpen. I think we need another stick. And, I think what the Giants are going to do is they'll probably just play it safe, because you got to remember, they did have a buyout. So it's not like they're getting this. They're not getting Tony for free. They had to pay Tennessee. I guess it's a $3 million buyout. I don't know if that's for every year or just all around.
Just once. Just one time.
So, it's one of those things, and it's a tricky situation. But I would say one thing Buster's doing, that's something that nobody else has really done. So I admire him for at least taking the chance. I just hope it sticks.
Yeah. And Rod Dunham says in 3 years, the team will not even resemble the deadbeat, lifeless franchise it resembled since 2014. Epic hire. Yeah, it's not going to be the same. And Lou, another thing I was thinking, and we may have this lockout after the 26th season, and teams may be, who knows what it's going to look like, but the Giants, Buster may be looking at this long-term and saying, hey, we've got to draft and develop well, and we got these aging veterans. I'm on record as saying this. I think if the Giants next year are not in contention at the trade deadline, and they do not have a successful season, and it won't be the manager's fault, because look, you could have the best manager in baseball, Bruce Bochy, or whoever you want to say is the best manager out there, manage this team, and I don't think they win maybe 2 more games than they won. 81 games. You got to have the players. And these players like Chapman and Jung-Hoo Lee that they signed that are just kind of like mid, they're not great. They can be. They have the potential to break out, but then you got Devers signed, and then your fourth player,
Lee.
why am I for Lee?
Lee.
Adamas,
Adamas.
and then you got Webb. I think you got 5 veterans pretty much that take up the majority of their salary. If they're not doing well, I could see them saying, you know what, we've been playing this middle lane for a long time. Let's break this thing up. Let's draft and develop. And what better way to have than some young coach that knows high school kids and college kids and has won a national championship with Tennessee. He's been to super regionals like 5 times or 3 times. Maybe it's 3 times. 3 times. Took over the job in 2018. He's had a very successful run. Let's see how this thing goes. I think, Buster, you're right. I think they've got to add pitching. They've got to get a couple of hitters. I think Bo Bichette would be perfect for this team, a contact hitter, around a 300 hitter that would help the team. They've got to get more bats that can make consistent contact, and you got to have the pitching horses to get you through a whole season. You can't have, hey, Giants are great for the first 80 games. Well, yeah, then all the pitchers are worn out except Webb.
And Dan, you brought up a point about spring training. If you remember, the Giants had a great spring training this last year. They were the best in baseball. They were the best the first month. But once it got going, second, third month, they started lacking. Here's the other thing. Buster came out and said, the fans deserve to be in the playoffs. Okay, how does this hiring him make the Giants better right now? And you're talking about, hey, in the long run, but being a season ticket holder like myself,
right?
Does this mean I got to struggle another 2-3 years? And I'm only going to see a team that's maybe 500. It's not really a difference maker. It's one of those things where like, okay, so we got a college coach. And again, they got a built-in excuse. He's learning on the job. We had this last year, a GM learning on the job who actually admitted it halfway through the season.
That's right.
Buster, I'm learning on the job. I'm sorry. We're not like the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're not like the, Detroit or the Chicago White Sox, where at least they have a vision right now. The White Sox have a great farm system. They're probably 2 or 3 years of being something. Right now, you got to remember, we have a guy that we're hoping Eldridge is our future. He's not guaranteed. And beside him, who else do we have? We have nobody. We have guys that are 3, 4, 5 years away, and it's getting frustrating where, next year, I mean, you're hearing all over the place. Dodgers, possible World Series champs. Tucker, possible Dodgers. They're already basically going to get them. So they're going to be better. San Diego, they're having problems right now. They might trade one of their big pieces, but they're trying to get better. Arizona's going to be better, and the Giants, again, I just don't want it where last year, when you really thought about the Giants, Adames really wasn't a difference maker. I mean, the guy batted 240 and he was the Willie Mack Award winner. I mean, come on, that's pathetic. The other thing, the 2 biggest highlights of the year was Bailey's inside the park homer and his grand slam against the Dodgers. That's it. Nothing else really mattered except maybe the little league thing. So, I just don't like, and I've heard this before, and I don't know if you brought it up, the Giants are actually doing it backwards, because what's going to happen is they got a college coach with no experience. So you're going to get a bench coach who's probably managed before previously or who's done it. You're going to have a new third base coach and a new first base coach, where normally it's the other way. But that's just Giants baseball. Nothing like it. And do me a favor, Buster.
Maybe we'll bring nothing like it back.
Yeah. I don't want it for the 4th year. Come up with something new. It's just one of those things, where we're sort of doing everything in reverse.
Right. Propo says, if Buster is true to his word, Giants should be a top spender. Need to make the National League Division Series next year. Screw a nothing burger wild card appearance. If not, rebuild. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think they may look. The Giants just, like you said, Lou, they had to buy him out for $3 million.
And Dan, the other thing is they're paying for 2 other managers beside Melvin. So right now
Yeah.
they're paying like almost probably 15 million for a manager who's never done it because of all the buyouts. When you really think about it, Melvin
Yeah,
still had another
Melvin's
year.
got 1 year. I don't know if Kapler's got any years left.
I thought Kapler had one more year because originally it was a 3-year deal and we got rid of him. So I'm just throwing that out there. And then the buyout, before you know it, it's just very risky.
Me if they're willing to spend $3 million on a buyout for an inexperienced major league
and what
manager,
do you think he's making for him to leave where he made $3 million?
I think he's going to sign based on what I've
20 million.
Oh no. He's probably going to get $5 million a year.
Yeah, for 4 years, 20 million.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 20. Years. Yeah, he's probably going to get. They may even get him for $4 million a year, but I would guess in the closer to 5 for him to leave. But also keep in mind, everyone, Randy White is the athletic director, not the Randy White that was for the Cowboys, but Randy White is the director or the athletic director of the University of Tennessee. There's been a little bit of contention there between Vitello. The athletic department received I can't remember the dollar amount that they received, but they divvied it up between the football team
and the women's volleyball, from what I heard.
Or women's, was it volleyball or softball? One of the two. I think it was volleyball. I think it might be volleyball. Yeah, and they got more money per player in the women's volleyball than the baseball team. And the baseball team, guys, when you think college baseball out here, you got Cal, St. Mary's, Stanford, right? But back in Knoxville, it's like a professional team back there. They're rabid about their team. They had a couple hundred people out yesterday at the practice, in November or October here. And they're in the middle of football season, and University of Tennessee's got a good football program, and they're out there at the baseball program, trying to beg Tony Vitello to stay. That would never happen at Cal or St. Mary's or Stanford. Just wouldn't happen.
Dan, I know you have the power. I would love to hear why the flavor of the month from 2 weeks ago, Nick Hundley turned it down. Everybody thought he was the manager. I mean, every single talk show, of course, our two reliable knuckleheads, Susan and Alex, said, "Oh, he's definitely there. It's Nick Hundley's job. It's 100%." And I would love to know why he didn't take it, considering I'd say he was like probably on a scale of 1 to 10, about a 9.5. It was his job to take, and I think that's more than someone knew. Why didn't Nick Hundley say no to the job? Is it because maybe he wanted more to say? Maybe he wanted more, again, there's always, it's like a divorce. You got to hear both sides of the story. But I just think, it's different. But hey, the SEC football is number one. SEC baseball, if you guys notice, if you go to any pitching, SEC Vanderbilt dominates. I mean, if you just look at the drafts and everything, I'm just like,
well, now it's LSU dominates too. LSU's got, had some great pitchers.
But the other thing too with NIL, it's great when you're the recruiter and you get, say, $5 million and you can pick who you want. But now with the Giants, you're stuck with who you have. So it's a big, big difference. And again, egos. He might have been the king of the hill in Tennessee, but in San Francisco, you're just the manager.
I was going to say this. Mark added it. He could take the San Diego job, Hundley. Right now, he said he's staying with Texas, but look out for possibility of San Diego. Albert Pujols is interviewed there. Hey, guys, your next San Francisco Giant pitcher that will probably be your number 5 starter, just a hunch, next year, not Justin Verlander, but someone just as old, and that is Max Scherzer, on new Giants manager Tony Vitello, his former pitching coach at Missouri. I absolutely believe in him. He's, to this day, one of my closest friends, and I absolutely believe he's going to get it done at the big league level. Okay, that's from Max Scherzer, who's pitching in the World Series with the Toronto Blue Jays. If he has a good outing in the World Series, he will be a free agent. Wouldn't shock me to see him come on and be kind of take Verlander's spot And he would be one of those guys you would count on, hopefully, for 15 to 20 starts. He's not going to give you 32, 33 starts because he's not at that stage of his career anymore. But he could be one of those guys that he doesn't even crack the top 5 in the rotation. He's a bullpen guy, but needs to then come in and be a starter when someone else goes down or whatever. That's what I think the Giants, when we talk about getting more starting pitchers, they need a couple of quality pitchers like a Ranger Suarez, Framber Valdez, or an Adrian Hauser from the White Sox. 2 of those 3 guys, okay? Preferably, I like Suarez the most, but I don't think they're going to go get Suarez and Valdez because I think that would blow up the budget. But if you can get Suarez, Hauser, and then maybe you add a Max Scherzer, and then you have 3 more starters that are capable. They need guys that, because you really only can count on Webb, and then you got Robbie Ray, and then you don't know if Landon Roop is going to last a whole season or not. He's never done it, right? So, Lou, give us your thoughts on this with Max Scherzer. Do you think he could be a guy?
Well, I could see him maybe if they win retiring and maybe working as a pitching coach.
Oh, pitching coach for the Giants.
You know what I mean? I mean, I think, especially with a new manager, they got to clean house. I don't want anyone back from Melvin's staff. I don't want anyone from the Clown staff. I want a whole new coaching staff. I want a new third base coach. I want first. I mean, if they're going to go for it, you might as well change all the way through. You know, at least give us something to be proud of, because last year we had too many problems. Our bench coach, who obviously is in charge of defense and running, was a disaster. Matt Williams was a disaster. You know, there was just too many problems. And if they're going to make a major step forward, that's something you have to do. You know, new blood, new everything. I believe, JC, it's one of those things, but you can't go half-ass. I saw somebody saying, hey, Lou, you know what? Buster went outside the box. Yeah, he went outside the box. I didn't think he was going to be a college coach. Why didn't you just get someone from down the road and, you know, go to De La Salle and, you know, pick a high school coach, you know? And it's one of those things where now I could have seen it. At least it wasn't local. You know, I think one of the things is it's not like he coached at Santa Clara for two months and he played for the Giants. So at least he's doing that. It's something different. But, you know, right now, I don't think it's I think what's good is the Giants are in the topic during the World Series week, but the week after the World Series winner, they better make a move, because I don't want to hear, oh, well, we got a new manager. They got to keep making strides.
Yeah. Matthew says, I think there's likely a whole new coaching staff. The new manager has to bring in guys he trusts. Yeah, there's going to be, and I think, don't be surprised if Ron Wotus is the bench coach to kind of help with the organization and help with, you know, what it's like to be a big league. You know, Ron Wotus is got a great personality. He's a guy that you can trust. He's not a guy that's going to backstab a Tony Vitello and, you know, try and make it life hard on him. So I wouldn't be surprised. Ron Wotus, you know, was Bruce Bochy's right-hand man. He was the bench coach, he was the bench coach the year the Giants had their 21, you know, crazy 107 win season. So that wouldn't shock me. I've heard Brandon Hyde name that, you know, the Giants interviewed, who was the manager of the Orioles, also had a young team, Brandon Hyde. But to me, that could get a little bit like looking over your shoulder. Like Hyde be like, hey, I've had success with a young team that won 100+ games. And I think Ron Wotus might be the perfect guy because he knows the organization. You can't have everybody new to the organization.
Yeah, but
right,
do you think
Lou?
he wants to come back after getting freedom for a couple of years and basically having sort of a cush job on, you know, NBC Sports Bay Area?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I would think that would have already been worked out with Buster. You know, I think I think if Buster,
do you think we're assuming too much with Buster?
as far as
well, like you just said, Buster probably spoke to him about this just in case. I think sometimes we're giving him too much. You got to remember, he's only been doing it a little more than a year.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of myself, Lou,
Okay.
how I would do it. If I was hiring a guy with no experience, I would want somebody that could be there daily, his right-hand man, to at least for a year, that knows the organization, that knows everything, the ins and outs about the organization, that can, if you bring in all these new people that just are like know nothing of San Francisco Giants at all, it'd be kind of like, hey, everybody's learning on the job. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great point. But you got to remember, since 2016, we had 1 year that I don't really count 2021. We've been irrelevant. So
completely irrelevant, right?
Something. But at least we'll give them a chance. Go ahead, Dan.
At least it puts us on the map. I mean, people are saying, well, hey, why is this guy taking so long to make a decision? Well, he wasn't going to make a decision until the American League Championship ended. So it wasn't going to be either yesterday or today. All this time waiting from yesterday to today, everybody's talking about the Giants, which, can't hurt.
Yeah,
but I'm going to bring,
because the World Series doesn't start till Friday. So the timing's perfect.
I'm going to bring in Dallas. I got to take a little break here. I got to run to
Dan, I got a call at 11, but I wanted to call in. Once I'm done, maybe I'll come back on. I apologize.
Perfect. Yeah, come back in if you're able.
No problem. Good luck, chat.
All right. Thanks, Lou.
Congrats. All right. Talk to you.
Bye. All right. There goes Lou Marson, and in comes Dallas. Welcome, Dallas, to the show. Your thoughts?
Hello.
I'm going to take I've been drinking a lot of water this morning, and I didn't have time to go to the bathroom when this thing broke. So I'll be back in just a moment.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dallas.
So, I wake up this morning and we finally got a manager. How about that? Not without controversy. I think there's a lot of people that are suspicious of this move. Not having major league experience, but I am of the opinion that Buster Posey is not someone who makes a decision, makes a rash decision, doesn't think things through. I mean, he is calculated. He is, he doesn't just make decisions willy-nilly. He is deliberate in his decision making. So to get to this point, I think he has to be pretty sure about this, pretty confident in this decision. I don't think he would just go out on a limb if he didn't think that there was a 80% chance of it working out, and of course a lot goes into it, whether it works out or not, as far as winning or losing, or as far as clubhouse relations. So I think what's that noise? Oh, Dan left his microphone on. No, I'm just kidding. I think that, obviously it remains to be seen what's going to happen here. But I think that it is outside the box thinking, as Johnny is saying. And why not? They just had a manager that had 22 years of experience, and they couldn't crack 500 to save their life. So,
20th winningest coach in all time, Dallas. 20th winningest manager, I should say, all time. More wins than Tommy Lasorda, Dick Williams, and Earl Weaver, all in the Hall of Fame, and Bob Melvin had more wins. So how did having the experience help?
It didn't.
Exactly. So I don't think this is as risky as some people think. Because
also, what was the alternative? They were going to go with Nick Hundley or Mark DeRosa or Yadier Molina, or no experience there either.
Yeah,
none of those guys have.
Hey, Hutch is out there. Hutch from Murfreesboro. There he is. The mayor of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, approves the hiring. Yeah, Murfreesboro is not too far from the Knoxville area, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Hutch, out there? I was watching the Tony Basilio show yesterday, and they were talking about this, and Tony is going to hopefully join us on the show today to give us his insights. He's known Tony Vitello for years, and he's been in the Knoxville area for 30 years as a broadcaster. Mentor Mac, thank you for the donation. He says, damn, Lou, they promised Bob one more. Bomel is great. You only get 2 years? Really, that's where we're at. Wow. Yeah, you know, I think Tony is not going to – whatever happens the next 2 years, I don't see Tony being let go in 2 years, but I could see Tony leaving on his own after 2 years if he hates it, you know. The one thing I heard from Tony Basilio back in Knoxville, he said the one thing that Tony's Vitello is going to struggle with is losing. And every major league manager is going to lose about 65 games, you know, at least, right? That's most of the time. He said that's going to kill Tony. He hates to lose, which I love. If he can learn that, accept that you're going to lose 60 games just going into it.
You have to learn that, but losing half the time should be unacceptable to you.
Right.
And that's what we're used to. We're used to losing half the time, and that's just not good enough.
Correct.
So it would be good to, and then especially when it gets into those prolonged losing streaks where they just, this year it went on too long. Every team is going to have a losing streak, but the ones that go 2 weeks, 12, 14, 16 games where you're in a terrible schneid and you can't get off it, you know, he's going to, I don't know that he lets that happen. You know, he'll upset the apple cart in some way to get it get the train back on the track. So I don't know.
Buster,
it's going to be interesting for sure.
I missed Propa's super chat earlier. I'm sorry. I meant to get to that. Let me get this one right here. Yes. The slogan at the stadium this year should be put up or shut up. If they're 500 again, they'll be irrelevant after the lockout. Niners missing half their roster and still grinding out wins. No excuses. Yeah, they need to put up. This is a big year for Buster. And why is it a big year? Well, you've just hired an unprecedented manager. You haven't made the playoffs but once since 21. This new regime has not, tasted the playoffs. And you've got guys that are on your team like Matt Chapman and Willie Adames. And for that matter, you could probably throw in Rafael Devers, saying this is their window. This isn't a team that says, okay, we're going to, for the next couple years, we're setting it up so 2-3 years from now, we're going to be great. If that's the mindset, then those guys I mentioned won't be around except maybe Devers. But you got Chapman and Adames in their window right now. I mean, Chapman's window is starting to close a little bit. It hasn't. He still can be productive. He's only going to be 33. But generally around 34 is when the window, we saw it with Brandon Crawford, it starts to go. And that means that this team is going to have to spend wisely in the offseason and go out and add some pieces that
absolutely
fill in some holes. I
the offseason hasn't even started yet. This is just the one move, get the manager in there. But if you just start the season with this new manager and this team with this pitching staff, he's not going to have much of a chance at a shot at success. So they need to. The work actually starts now, not there's a lot to get done in the offseason if this team is going to put a competitive product on the field regardless of the manager.
Mentor Max says, in that case, following up from his previous one that says you get 2 years, really, that's where we're at. He's referring to where Bob Melvin, and he says in that case, first 2 years and last 2 years of Bochy, he'd be gone. So, yeah, I think Tony's going to sign. My guess is he gets a 4-year deal, 4 or 5 year deal. He was signed through 29, guys. So that's 26, 7, 8, 9. He had 4 years to go at Tennessee. Maybe it's only a 3-year deal. If it's a 3-year deal, I think the AAV is probably a little higher. If it's a 4-year deal, it might be a little lower. My guess is he's going to sign anywhere between the $4 and $5 million range. Now listen to this, guys. Remember what Buster said he wanted in a manager? Someone who was relentless at studying, preparing, putting all his energies into making this team and really putting their everything into this job. Well, Tony Vitello is 47 years old, is not married, and has no children. Gabe Kapler had children. He was single, but he had children. This is a guy that is probably going to pour his entire being to be successful because he's been successful. He hates to lose. And so he's going to be relentless about trying to figure out ways. Now he's going to have to probably learn at times that all of his energies that he puts into things, it may not pay off at times. There's going to be losing streaks of, Tennessee probably never had a 5-game losing streak. I would guess they probably never lost 5 games in a row. That's going to happen in the big leagues. So that's going to have to be something he's going to have to adjust to. But saying that, I'd much rather have a guy that hates losing and is going to put in the time to get the most out of his team than a guy that says, well, it happens. I mean, that's what we had with Melvin this past year. It happens. What are we going to do about it? It's like, I think that had to drive Buster crazy because Buster's a fierce competitor himself. And, I think this guy wants to prove everybody wrong. I really do. I think that's the type of guy I've heard he is. I've heard he's the type of guy that says, you can't do it. That makes him like what may have even pushed him to take this job is people saying he couldn't do it. That's what I've heard.
But maybe that was always his goal. And this is really his shot. If he's not successful this time, you don't know that someone else is going to pull the chair out for him in the future. So he will be motivated to have success now, because this is how you stay.
Yes.
He could always go back to college. That door will be open for him.
Yes.
Because he's proved himself there.
Yep.
But you only get so many opportunities at this level, in the big chair. He could always take a bench coach job somewhere, take a pay cut, and work his way up. But if he wants to leapfrog that, because he likes to be in command and he likes to be the big dog, this is his opportunity to succeed.
Absolutely.
It's a great opportunity for him. I think he may not even have taken too much of a raise just because he wants to get his foot in the door.
It may only be about $3.5 million, right in that range, to cover maybe some of the taxes that he doesn't have to pay at Tennessee. I don't know. We'll see. Nothing negative about Rod Dunham, 1999. Thank you for that, Rod. Says nothing negative about this hire at all. Enough of the retread managers. Vitello is 1 in a million. He's going to change the paradigm. It's a great day to be a Giants fan. The future is very bright. In Posey we trust. Go Giants. Yeah, I agree, Rod. Look, I've been critical of Buster at times, not super critical, but more like, can he do this job? Will he be able to do it? And I've heard many other people who just think Buster walks on water and that he can do no wrong, and they can't stand this hire. They hate this hire, this idea, because he has no experience as a, like, guys, wake up. You just had Bob Melvin 20th all time on the managerial win list. So let me just pull this up here. I had it most win. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull it up. Give me a sec here. Just the. Sorry about this. Okay. Let's see if we can pull up the list here. Manager. All right. Well, I'm struggling to get that done, so we'll go back to this. All right. So, Rod, appreciate your comments. Excellent comment. I agree. Steve P, Steve P says Yadier Molina. Oh, my goodness, you could have had Yadi and Benji. That was what I was calling for. I really thought they should have went after Yadier Molina and his brother Benji as the staff.
He may not have been interested. He may already be earmarked for St. Louis.
Correct. They may not have been interested. We don't know. Yeah. That's exactly. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up this list. Let's see. Let's see. I think I got it right here.
It also will be interesting to see the rest of the coaching staff, because Vitello is not going to probably have his own. He might have some of his own coaching staff he'll bring along, but they won't have major league experience either. So you're going to Posey is going to want to put experienced people in those coaching roles. And so it might be a mix of the two, but we're going to see some new faces also.
Correct. Exactly. Guys, you could look at this particular list of managers. Connie Mack, 53 years as a manager, 3,700 plus wins. Tony La Russa, almost 1,000 less, 900. That's John McGraw, Bobby Cox, Joe Torre. Then there's Bruce Bochy, who comes in at 6th. If Bochy manages one more year, he's going to be in the top 5. He'll surpass Joe Torre. All he needs is like 72 wins to tie him, 73 to go ahead of him. So I think Bochy does end up in the top 5. I don't know if he can manage long enough to catch Bobby Cox at 4. But you got Sparky Anderson 7, Dusty at 8, Joe McCarthy at 10, Walter Alston of the Dodgers 12, Casey Stengel 14, Lou Piniella 17. What's going on with my list here? Okay, let me get this ad out of here. Come on, where'd my mouse go? There it is. Golly. All right. There you see at number 20, Bob Melvin. Look at Bob Melvin, 16-82. He's got a 51.4% winning percentage, actually higher than Casey Stengel, higher than Bruce Bochy at 498. Bruce Bochy's under 500. Okay, so you got Melvin at 20, Lasorda down there at 25, Dick Williams 26, Earl Williams 28. All right, so I'm looking here. I mean, you could have went Bud Black. Well, Bud Black's been a manager a long time. Do you want some of these retreads, or do you want a fresh AJ Hinch? Well, he's still managing. Don Mattingly, who's with the Blue Jays right now. You could have waited and maybe hired Mattingly, but he's older. That's not going to fit what Buster Posey's talking about, finding someone who's relentless, putting their efforts into preparation for this job. I think a lot of managers, you get an experienced manager, a lot of times they just show up to the park few hours before, and they do their lineup, and they're probably, Gabe Kapler. I don't think Gabe ever even did anything with the lineup because Farhan was doing it. I think Gabe just showed up to the park, was handed the lineup, and pretty much was hands off. So
yeah,
and I don't think Buster. A lot of people say Buster is wanting a guy he can control. I don't think Vitello takes his job if Buster says, we're going to be doing the analytics, we'll hand you the lineup. I don't think Vitello is into that. I don't think that at all.
I don't think so either. I think, I don't know. I don't know that it's the lineup so much. I mean, the micromanaging, I think the difference with Farhan, we would see people called up and down. The who's on the 26 man was always in flux.
Right.
And under Melvin and under Posey, we saw very little moves. It was pretty much the same roster. They would, when the issue would get forced, like when Fitzgerald was in a terrible, terrible slump, finally they sent him down and brought up somebody else. And then when injuries started happening, it happened more frequently later on in the year. But I think I'm not sure. I really don't know how it's going to work out. I mean, they're going to have to find a system that works, and I'm sure they've probably discussed this through the process of the interview and all that. So I'm sure there's going to be some. There's going to be some press conferences here when the
probably
happens.
maybe as early as tomorrow.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get a little more info on how that's going to work out, and maybe these beat writers will ask those types of questions, because generally Posey is pretty straightforward in his answers. He doesn't BS you. He kind of tells it as it is, which is nice because we'll see.
Hey guys, if we get those likes up, smash that like button if you would. It really helps the show. It reaches out to more people. We've got over 175 on YouTube. We got 1,128 in the house, 1,130 now watching. A lot of people on Twitter. Come on over to NorCal Sports Network on YouTube. All you people watching on Twitter, hit subscribe, hit the like button if you would. That would be great. Hit the like button on Twitter if you're watching over there, or X. Hit that like button. But 75 likes in YouTube. If you guys would just do us a favor, please, if you would be so kind, hit that like button.
If you're a fan of this move, hit the like button. And then also, if you hate this move, hit that like button also.
Yeah, hit it twice. Yeah. Don't hit the down one. That's not, we don't have any say on this deal. Senior says, is there anyone from Tony B show here? Any Vols fans that want to come on? Yeah. Hey, if you're a Vols fan and you want to come on to the show, let me know. I will put the invite out there. If you want to come in and give us your thoughts on this, anybody who's a Tennessee Volunteer fan, let us know. I'm hoping that Tony Basilio will be able to join us. He is on his live show right now, and I'm sure it's very tough for him to break away. I'll tell you this, if we don't get him during our live segment here, I will get him on later today when he's off of his show, and we will get him to discuss this. I'm going to reach out to one other person. If you've got, go ahead, Dallas, take over. I'm going to reach out and see if I can.
PvP says Giants baseball 4th place. Well, that remains to be seen. Can they strengthen the rotation? That's what this is going to come down to. This season, they need to have pitching. What happened this year? They started out with the best pitching staff in baseball for the first third of the season. No one had a better staff and bullpen. They were very, very good. What happened? People got hurt. Birdsong blew out, couldn't get it back together. Roop got hurt. Verlander missed time. They made the trade, obviously. Harrison and what's his name? What was that guy's name? I already forgot him.
Which one? What are we talking about? Kyle Harrison?
No, Kyle Harrison. And who did they trade? The reliever that wanted to be a starter.
Oh, Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks.
Hicks. Okay. Yes. So yeah, they had a deep rotation to start with. By the end of the season, it was decimated. It was Kaiwei Tang and Scott McDonald and a lot of fill-ins and no names and unproven people. So this year they need to double down on that starting rotation and really strengthen it so that you have 4 solid starters, and then maybe your 5th starter fills in from the minor league ranks, these up and coming starters they have, and whoever's pitching the best fills that role. And then you have some depth down there to fill in. But, and then also the bullpen, the bullpen started out strong last year, and they traded some arms away, and their Randy Rodriguez got hurt, and he's out for this entire upcoming season. So by the end of the season, the bullpen only had 1 or 2 guys that were the same from the start of the season. So by the end, it was a completely different story. So they're going to need to beef that up, strengthen that, and, concentrate on the pitching, because the hitting is largely spoken for. You have potentially a right fielder you could fit in. You potentially have a second baseman if you don't want to go with Smith this year, but it looks like the backup catcher position is probably locked in. So, you don't have a whole lot of wiggle room on the offensive side. So I think you really have to concentrate on the pitching side, and that's what hopefully we see this offseason. Dan, you're muted.
We got Jimmy Wilson from Tennessee. Says he's a Vols fan and he's pissed. Well, I'm sorry for that. Your loss. We're glad to have him here. But I understand the frustration of losing a great coach. Senior says, welcome to the show. Welcome. We welcome you. Tennessee was a dumpster fire before Tony came along. Yeah. Hey, look, there are certain types of people that if they turn things around, they're usually are able to turn things around again. Look, I got a brother who's a coach, right, in college basketball. He coached at Division I as an assistant at St. Mary's, but he took over. He started out as a freshman basketball coach at his alma mater, my alma mater, Clayton Valley High School, was like undefeated. Then he went up to the JVs and won the league. I think he lost 1 or 2 games. And then he went to De La Salle High School, who was a perennial loser in basketball, turned them into a powerhouse at De La Salle High School. Then he went over and took on Diablo Valley College and turned that program around. So my brother has a track record of turning 4 or 5 different programs around. Tony Vitello turned around Tennessee. Maybe he's the guy to turn around the Giants. And hey, guys, we got a special guest we're going to welcome in from KNBR and the San Jose Mercury. We welcome in Dieter Kurtenbach. Welcome, Dieter.
How's it going? Let me zoom
Good,
out here.
good.
Sorry.
He's going to get zoomed in, get all set up. There you go.
I love it. I love it.
All right. We've got some people in here from Tennessee. Jimmy Wilson says Tennessee was a dumpster fire before Tony came along. We may be joined by Tony Basilio, who's also in Knoxville, who has a big YouTube and radio program. I talked to him yesterday. He said he will be joining us, but he's live right now on his show. So this is a rough day for Tony. He's a close friend of Tony Vitello's, and he was hoping he wasn't going to leave, but yesterday he told me, he said it's 50-50. He didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And I kind of got the feeling last night that he was going to take the job today based on what he was saying to his team. When he told his team yesterday, Peter, don't know what I'm going to do, but whoever your coach is next year, you're going to be in good hands. That to me was a little bit like softening the blow.
Yeah, I'll give it that. And I don't hold it against Tony V that this was a tough decision, because it's an unprecedented move by the Giants, and he's clearly a very smart guy. I don't know him personally, but I know enough people who know him where it's like, this dude's sharp. He's sharp as a tack. He has to understand, I'm doing something unprecedented. It might not work out. And I've built this thing up, because he built it up from effectively nothing into college baseball's arguably preeminent powerhouse these days. Certainly a winning machine. And to walk away from that is not a small decision, especially on kind of a lark, which is what he's going on here, and to take a pay cut in the process, which the money doesn't matter. These are hyper-competitive type A personalities. At a certain juncture, it's not about the money. It's about the opportunity and the potential to win, and frankly, the ego, and there's nothing wrong with that. Totally get it. There's a reason I'm still at a newspaper. It's clearly not for the money. So it is a bold, brash move from now a bold, brash manager for the San Francisco Giants. I love the move. I love it. I
do too.
What's the downside? People keep talking about the potential that this flames out. Cool. Great. I'd be thrilled if this flamed out. The most interesting Giants team of the last couple of years wasn't 2021. It was Gabe Kapler's final 2 months. That was really interesting to me, watching this whole thing unravel in a very short period of time. I know that Giants fans don't like that, but the Giants need to be interesting. They need to do something, because they're getting their ass kicked. The Dodgers are going to sweep the World Series, right? The Padres are chaos agents that seem to somehow beat them every year. And the Giants, even with their nice little runs that they had this year, barely overtook the Diamondbacks, who sold everybody before the trade deadline because they were like, we suck. And they almost didn't beat them in the standings. I don't even know. They might not have. I haven't looked. So the fact of the matter is they needed to do something. Sleepy Bob was just not the right guy for the team that they had. He was a good guy. I call him Sleepy Bob. I mean, there was some Biden energy here, like a good guy for the time. And then after everything sort of stabilizes, and then it's like, okay, now it's starting to look a little weird. So Bob came in, he cleaned up Gabe's mess, but he wasn't going to build anything. He wasn't going to take that to the next level. He was a floor accomplisher, but not a ceiling raiser. I have no problem with the potential of this thing just totally flaming out, and quickly with Tony Vitello, on the basis of he could also raise the ceiling. The combustibility goes both ways, and this is a team that needs to do something big and bold and brash. My only reservation, guys, is that this is another button push from Buster Posey, who doesn't seem to have a plan other than let's just push the biggest, reddest button at all times. And this is the biggest, reddest button, and I love it. And you know what? That might be a good plan. It legitimately might be. But this guy now has done a couple of moves where you're like, okay, I'm not sure I'm seeing the vision, but that is certainly a big thing. The team is struggling a little bit, So I guess we're just going to shake up the roster with 3 or 4 moves. Okay, well, that didn't work. So let's just go trade for Rafi Devers. It's like, whoa, that escalated quickly, but like, that's cool. Rafi Devers is great. And then it's like, oh, well, we're not hitting with Rafi Devers. So let's extend Bob Melvin to show the clubhouse that we believe in him. And it's like, okay, I don't know about that. And then it's like, okay, well, things came back on because it's just a streaky team that strikes out a lot. And when they get hot, they're hot. And when they're cold, they're super cold. All that. By the way, get Stephen Kwan. That might help level it out a little bit. Yep. Another point for another day. Regardless, then, it's starting to fade, right? We get to the hot streak of August is fading, and you're like, I don't know if they're going to be able to make it to the finish line, which they didn't. And he's like, Eldridge. Throw in Eldridge. It doesn't matter. Like, just throw him in there. It's another button push. And now it's like, okay, well, we need a new button push. Fire the manager. Okay, good. And again, I don't think any of these decisions isolated were wrong. Maybe the Melvin one. But even then, I get where he's going for. And it costs $4 million to a Giants team that doesn't spend what they should. So, like, what do I care? It's the Johnsons' money. Or I guess it's fans' money laundered through the Johnsons. I would prefer if beer prices are cheaper, but, that's not happening anytime soon. So so long as they're going to charge this much, push some buttons. This one, it's big and bold and brash, and it might be exactly what the Giants need, because if nothing else, they're going to be interesting now, and I always want interesting. We all want winning, but I want interesting first, and hopefully that includes winning. But I'll take interesting and losing. I'll take it.
Yeah, and like you said, I like the move for this reason, because it is a bold move. It can go either way, but this team has been stuck in 4th place for the last 4 years, have not been over 500 in 4 years. Right. Really, without the 21 season, they haven't been over 500 since 2016.
Right.
So this is a team that's gone 9 years with 1 playoff berth and 1 season of winning baseball. So people say, well, this is a disastrous move. You got to hire an experienced manager. Well, how did that work out? Bob Melvin's 20th.
I love that argument. Like, it's a disastrous move. Anyone who tells you that they know what the hell this is going to do cannot be taken seriously, because the smartest people in baseball have no flipping idea. Managers are basically glorified babysitters and PR PR consultants until the playoffs start. And then they're the most important people in baseball. But until game 163, they're kind of just around to make sure that nobody kills themselves. And I don't know what a good manager is. I mean, I know what a good manager is in the playoffs, and I know how that works, because we see it on a nightly basis where you're like, whoa, they are managing. But in the regular season, it's like, who knows? Who knows what the right decision? Like, it's a very soft power job in the regular season. This guy is going to come in with, possibly hard power. I also think that people saying they don't know about it, like, we don't know this guy. Like, I feel like I got a pretty good read on him. Talked to a lot of people about him. I, am an SEC baseball guy. Like, I'll watch SEC. Like, I know Tony Vitello. Like, it wasn't like I needed to do a crash course on the dude, like so many people around Major League Baseball are right now. I find it ridiculous to pretend as if, okay, well, he's this big, brash, alpha male, main character guy in college. Like, he's also probably capable of not being that at the pro level, right? Because that's probably not going to work at the pro level. But you know where it does work? In college baseball, where no one knows the players' names, but the program and the manager are the stars in college baseball. And they are in most college sports. That doesn't work at the Major League Baseball level. And this guy, we'll find out if he's smart enough. But by all accounts, he seems smart enough to know that, like, I can't be the man here. I'm part of a very big multi-billion-dollar operation, not building up Tennessee baseball from this small, kind of rinky-dink operation, this sleeping giant, into now this giant of the game. So I have to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's not going to be that guy in total as the manager of the Giants. But that said, I think, if nothing else, I know the guy can light a fire under some dudes' asses, and this team needs that in the worst kind of way. Everybody. And that's not just the players, right? That is top to bottom in the organization. That's the fan base. The fan base needs a fire lit under its ass, because for the last 10 years since I've been doing San Francisco sports media, it has been not just sleepy, but also
boring.
Boring. And not just that, there is also this, and this is a market issue that I have found. And I'm from Chicago. I'm brash, I'm bold, much like Tony Vitello. We're loud Missouri Tigers. So there's something to be said for that. But this market, and this is a gross overgeneralization, it is not one for one. But I have found, if I had to categorize or stereotype, that this market just wants its hand held and to be told that everything's going to be A-okay. Oh, no, it's fine that they're boring and sleepy and they can't hit for 2 months straight. Just hold my hand and tell me everything's going to be okay. Well, it is not. This is high-stakes, big money professional baseball. You have guys getting $250 million salaries over tenure, whatever, and you're putting out this rat turd product on a near nightly basis. They're hard to watch. They're hard to root for. They don't play. They don't push any buttons. It's why I appreciate Posey at the highest level pushing some buttons. This guy's going to get in there and mix some stuff up, and he needs to light a fire under this team, which I think he'll very easily do, under this organization, which is just like, hey, we're printing money. What's it matter? Now it's about winning. Now it's about, hey, we're out here. We're doing something. This guy can light a fire all the way up and down, which is why I think Buster brought him in. We got to shake some stuff up. This guy's a shaker. And I think he needs to light a fire under the fan base. I hope that people hate this hire. I hope that people love this hire. I want everybody in this fan base to get out of the middle, pick a side, and let's fight it out and let's see what's what. Because this middle ground of this is fine is death. Because the standards have slipped, and I've seen them slip every year. I showed up in 2014. I have seen the standards for this team slip every year since then. And it's understandable the first couple of years after a World Series, and it is unacceptable in the 2020s. The standards have slipped, and now it's about maybe we can make the playoffs as a wild card team. Wouldn't that be fun? Meanwhile, the Dodgers are out here literally putting us in a lockout in 2 years with the way that they go about their business. Like, they're pushing buttons. They're pushing the limit. They're trying to find some stuff. And meanwhile, the Giants and their fans now have been, ingratiated into this line of thinking of like, wouldn't 87 be fun? Like, couldn't we just make it with 87? We'd make so much money if we just made 87. It's Stockholm syndrome. And now we have a personality, hopefully, we'll find out, that can come in here and force people to actually feel something as opposed to the standard 81 win malaise that has been plastered over this organization like mayonnaise on a ham sandwich, just disgusting and dripping off this thing. It is awful to watch. It is awful to cover. And I am just so excited that something is happening, because Rafi Devers, as big and awesome of a deal as that was, and credit to Buster for finding a way to get in that kind of a superstar. And I guess as nice as Adames is, though, I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of the signing, but he's a damn good player. We'll see how it all pans out. They've made some nice moves, but those aren't guys who are going to fundamentally change how the Giants do business and go about their day-to-day and operate inside the public domain. And they weren't going to force Giants fans to wake the hell up from this coma that they've been in and ask the team to actually do something bold and interesting. And thank God the Giants decided, because they could have lived like that forever. It is good business to live like that. They had lulled the fan base into that slumber, and they probably didn't want to wake them up. So I don't know if Buster Posey's good at this or not, but thank goodness for Buster Posey that he's recognizing what's happening and saying, no, we're not doing that. I would rather crash and burn than be boring. And now you got to wake up and you got to accept this reality. And you're either with them or you're against them. And that's the only way things work in 2025 in our polarized society. And I'm in.
I love it.
Until he's an absolute disaster, in which case I'm all the way out. But at least we'll have something to talk about.
Yes, they're picking a lane, as I call it. They have been driving the middle lane for 10 years, refusing to hop in the fast lane to try and catch the Dodgers or get in the slow lane and rebuild. Do something.
Stop driving the speed limit.
Yeah, they're finally doing something. Now, Dieter, You're a University of Missouri guy.
Yeah.
I want to get your take on this tweet by another University of Missouri guy, Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
What do you think? He was his former pitching coach at Missouri, and he says he absolutely believes in Tony. He's, to this day, one of my closest friends, and I absolutely believe he's going to get it done at the big league level.
Yeah.
I said after this World Series, you may see Max Scherzer as a Giant if he wants to continue his career.
Listen, there's always a spot for a 40-something-year-old starting pitcher on the San Francisco Giants.
Justin Verlander will be moving on.
Much like the San Francisco 49ers bring in players based on did they play for us before. Buster Posey's bringing in players on did I consider them one of my elite peers at the time that I played. And you know what? Whatever. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. I'll say this about Vitello. I've talked to some folks about him. Obviously don't know him personally, and certainly have seen his work at the University of Tennessee. Actually saw his work at the University of Missouri. But he's sharp as a tack, man. That is the one thing. You can throw anything you want on him, and I the character that is the public persona, a lot of that is artificial, right? The people behind the scenes that talk to him, they're like, he's a calm, reasoned, smart dude. He drips with insight is a phrase that someone used, like drips with insight. And then he's out there in front of the camera and he puts the bully in bully pulpit and he's getting ejected from games. Like there's a showmanship to him. And in college baseball, you needed that. This Giants team needs that. Yeah. But he's also, if he didn't have the reputation of behind the scenes being kind of Melvin-y in a way, you can talk to him. He's gonna give you good advice. He's gonna have the best game plans. He's a hard worker, son of a coach. His dad's a legendary high school baseball coach in St. Louis. Like, if he didn't have that, he wouldn't have gotten this job. I mean, full stop. You can't. It's not like Major League Baseball teams aren't checking references. Like they've talked to everybody, and to a man and woman, they'll say that this guy has the goods. Now, again, it might not work in the same way that anyone might not work, and the public persona, which is to be determined, but we have a good idea of sort of what degree it might be to with the Tennessee gig that he just had. Like the public persona, I think is just so necessary. It's so necessary for this team because last year you just, at a certain point, the shtick with Bob being level as this team went up and down and up and down. Like the idea was we have a streaky team. Let's have a manager that can level, keep things even keeled. Well, how'd that work out? They were super streaky the entire time. And I know he's not the hitting coach. I know, but like it didn't seem like anything was happening. And then as the season's sort of unraveling, you're like, I don't know, Bob, get yourself thrown out of a game. Do something. Do something. And I had a column about 2 weeks before he got fired. I had just been talking to people for about 2 weeks. And I'm like, is this guy going to do anything? Is there going to be a bit of a show here? He's been in the major leagues long enough. I remember when Bob Melvin was a fiery manager back in like 20 years ago. Like I remember that. Like, is he just going to sit here and watch the whole season crumble down and just go like, oh, well, I guess that happened. Is he going to be a bystander to this thing? And I asked people for 2 weeks expecting at some point, Bob was, every now and again I'd ask stuff and it'd kind of leak through. And then, I did this particular where I'm like, are they ever going to run? At some point, like I think it was 2 years ago. At 2 years ago, or maybe 3 years ago. I guess it was 2 years ago. They start the season and they have like 2 stolen bases in the first 50 games. And I had been talking. I'm like, are they ever going to run? Like, are they ever going to run? And people are like, no, this and that. I don't. They haven't found the right opportunity. This and that. And I go like, feels like you should just run for a while. Just try out running. And I go on KMBR one night and I just say it. And the next day they stole like 5 bases. And so that kind of stuff happens every now and again with some of these conversations. I don't know if it was a 1-for-1, but that kind of stuff happens every now and again when I'm talking to folks. And with Bob. I'm like, is he going to do anything? Is anything going to happen? And it was pretty clear that he wasn't, that he was just going to ride it out, that he was disinterested from the process. He felt like it would be a sideshow, but it's not a sideshow. It's the main show. There is a showmanship to this. There is an element of performance to this. And, most times managers are getting thrown out, arguing stuff. They know that the umpire got it right. They're just showing them up because they need to show their team they're behind them. There is, again, I guess I was a psychology minor, but I'm not smart enough at any of this stuff. Certainly the University of Missouri Psychology School did not prepare me to speak to the depth of what a manager needs to do to show his team what it needs to be shown and all that. But again, I do think that this just, how about this? Amongst all this nonsense rambling, I can tell you this right now. Tony Vitello holds his teams to high standards.
Yes.
And he holds them. He doesn't speak them. He holds them to high standards. And because this has been a guy who has alphaed for the last 6-7 years and won while being an alpha, if push comes to shove, and it's a bad case in point. I don't mean to, put this on Willie, but if Willie Adames is dogging it for a couple of days, or Willie's, half-assing it on defense for a couple of days, which is not very Willie-like, but if that was the case, Tony Vitello, unlike a Bob Melvin, would have no problem showing him up, would have no problem, talk about it on the side first, second, and third time. But at a certain point, I have a 3-year-old at home. I'll say it 3 times. 4th time, it's getting done, right? 4th time, I'm picking you up. We are removing you from this situation. Bob Melvin would wait 12 times with the towel. He's a much more patient man than I would be.
Yeah.
Patience is not a virtue, even on a 162-game season. Tony Vitello holds his teams to high standards, and he will hold them to that standard. And again, everybody, players, coaches, and I'm interested to see his coaching staff, the front office itself, with a lot of holdovers Buster came in with, right? Certainly the non-baseball people within the organization, the media, the fan base, everybody needs their asses to feel a little bit of flame under them. And this is one guy, there were probably a few other ones, but this is one guy I am certain can do that when the moment calls for it.
Yeah, and I don't think at any point during this last season those guys felt too many flames under their butts at any point.
No.
But going back to what you mentioned about the difference between the on-field personality and the behind-the-scenes guy, I think a lot of the detractors on this signing think that he is that on-field personality 100% of the time.
Yeah.
If that was the case, that wouldn't fly with professional baseball players.
Not a chance.
But if he's more Melvin behind the scenes and then on the field, it's a personality that is trying to inspire and trying to light a fire and trying to push the envelope and trying to, make things happen, then I think that's a great combination. And I don't think that Buster Posey would have made this move if that wasn't the case, if there wasn't that.
Yeah, I agree with that, Dallas. And I'll say this, we get on certain politicians because they promise certain things and they don't come through. And then we get on politicians for doing exactly what they say they're going to do. Look, Buster said he wanted a guy that was relentless and a guy that was relentless at preparing. Tony Vitello is 47 years old, has no children, is not married. He is 100% dedicated to this job. You think that this guy is going to take a job when he believes that, he can't do the job? I talked to Tony Basilio yesterday, and Tony said that he would probably take the job with the Giants if people – in fact, he said this to him. He goes, I called him and congratulated him. I did not tell him anything other than that. And people were telling him in Tennessee, why didn't you tell him not to take the job? He says, because if I tell him not to take the job, he will take the job. Because he's the type of guy that says, if he believes that people think he can't do it, he wants to prove them wrong. Yeah. And I love that type of a guy for the job. Look, guys that are successful coaches can be successful at different levels.
Let's also talk about this. no one knew who this guy was outside of true college baseball heads, which there aren't that many of them, at least not prominently in national media. No one knew who this guy was, but when he was at Mizzou and he got a lot of major league players to Mizzou as kind of their main recruit.
Yeah.
Goes to TCU, goes to Arkansas. Those are two really good college baseball programs. Arkansas is a really good program. No one knew who he was. When he shows up at Tennessee, it's kind of all shucks. I don't know. He doesn't have that beard yet, doesn't it? That's the real Tony Vitello. That's the guy who worked his way up because he was known as kind of a coaching savant, right? He was really, really good at this. He wasn't big and bold and brash personality. He didn't do any of that. He took on that character because that's what that program needed. And maybe some of it is now seeped into his day-to-day, right? Like, we were all a little bit playing a character in our personalities. But, like, when you are the head coach of a college baseball program that isn't going to get attention, right? You have a great basketball program at Tennessee. You have a great women's basketball program at Tennessee. You have a football program that, when it's rocking, is a top 10 in the country football program in terms of brand recognition. Now, it's great that you have the resources that come down from those, but there are a lot of SEC schools, Missouri Tigers included, that have a lot of good things going in their athletic department. It never shows up on the baseball field. There are some teams where it's the other way around, where they have these great baseball programs. They can't get their act together in any of the other sports. But it's just to say that if Tony Vitello wanted to be successful as the head coach of Tennessee, he had to adopt a persona. He had to make himself known. He had to become a Saban, or he had to become a Kiffin. He had to become one of these big alpha guys on the coaching ranks, because the coach is the star in college sports. Even today, the coach is the star. And if he thinks that but I cannot imagine, even if I think Buster Posey isn't good at this, even if I think everyone with the Giants is incompetent, which I don't, but I have those fleeting thoughts every now and again. Even if I were to give them zero benefit of the doubt whatsoever and just presume they're idiots, even the biggest idiot in sports would be like, hey, you're not going to try that act here, are you? Like, because that is not going to work with 100 millionaires. It's not going to work. That can work with the Drew Gilberts. That can work if you're the the White Sox manager or the Rays manager or the A's manager. If you're a small market, well, not the one, that's a White Sox issue, but like if you're a small market team that doesn't have a lot of money, yeah, the manager can be the star of that team. That's cool, because none of the players are making any money, enough money to say that you can't be the star, right? But if you show up and you got Chapman, Adames, and Devers, you got Logan Webb, who's been here forever, you got Robbie Ray, a former Cy Young winner, you got Buster Posey as your boss. Yeah, I might temper some of that character a little bit. I might be willing to be more of a supporting actor as opposed to the full Daniel Day-Lewis treatment.
Speaking of stars, we have an all-star. Do you think he can handle this guy, Tony Vitello? We welcome in Larry Krueger to the show.
Larry, what you're doing is dangerous and reckless.
He's driving.
Reckless.
Don't look at the camera. Just look straight ahead. Larry Krueger on his way down to Santa Clara for 49ers football.
What's Larry on there? What is that, 237 there? What are you on?
Parts unknown, just on the way. The way to practice.
Yeah, we're not going to give his whereabouts. He might be...
I'm going to figure it out by the end of this.
A drone coming after Larry. We don't want that.
I got you pegged, Larry. I know exactly where you're at.
All right. So,
have fun on the Montague. I'm going to bounce.
You going to bounce?
Yeah, see you guys.
All right. Well, thanks, Dieter, for your thoughts. We love it. Dieter Kurtenbach from KMBR and the San Jose Mercury. Now we bring in Larry Krueger from the Krug Show and KMBR as well. Larry freaking Krueger. It is. What do you think, Larry? This is huge news. This is definitely no longer. This is not a boring move. This is what's your thoughts on it?
It's boom or bust. I mean, it's thinking outside the box, but it's ultimately going to come down to how is his intensity and enthusiasm, how does it translate to millionaires? And does it? And, how does he communicate with his best players? How does he run his bullpen? How does the team do? I mean, we can talk forever about the manager, but they spent $1 for every $2 that their number one enemy spent, and they're going to watch that team win the World Series. So, I mean, first, I think the first question has to be: are you in it to win it? Tony, Buster, Larry, Charles, wherever the buck stops with, are you in it to win it?
Well, I know you, Larry. I know how competitive you are. And if somebody is coming out with a YouTube challenging you and starts to surpass you, and all of a sudden is just running roughshod over you in terms of performance, subscribers, all of that, that's going to motivate you to say, enough. I am going to show that I am worthy of being at the top. I think the Giants have got to be in a situation right now where they've watched the Dodgers make the playoffs for 13 straight years. And like you said, about to win back-to-back World Series. If this doesn't motivate the Giants ownership group to go out and spend at least what the Dodgers spend, 73% of their money on their revenue on player payroll. The Giants are at 47%. I just saw the figures.
Wait, are you saying? Wait. Those numbers, the last I checked, which was a year ago, was 52-47. The Dodgers were spending 52%.
Maybe I got somebody else. So I might have got somebody else wrong.
And the Giants were spending 47. But the point is the same, which is they have more revenue, but then they're spending a higher percentage of their revenue.
Correct.
And so they're more all in on winning. I mean, everybody, that's really the bottom line. And they've done it smartly with a plan to commandeer Japan. And now every 13, 14, 15-year-old kid in Japan who's picking up a baseball and wants to watch baseball is going to watch the Dodgers. They're going to root for the Dodgers. And they're going to dream about playing for the Dodgers. So that's the reality. That's how far you are behind. And they're going to have to have a fiery leader in the dugout, sure, but they're going to have an organizational plan and commitment that I have yet to see. So I want to see it. I want to hear about it. But they're a second-class citizen in their own division. They've never been their entire time on the West Coast. This is probably the worst as far as the disparity between the Dodgers and the Giants. And if you're really a Giants person, you cannot let that continue. The Giants are a rich franchise. They're not a poor franchise.
Yeah. I just looked up the numbers. I've got them right here. The Dodgers were second in the 24 revenue was $752 million. The 25 payroll with the taxes is $549. So they're putting in 73%.
Wow.
The Giants are at 47.5%. They made $448 million in 24. This is according to Forbes, and they put $213 million into last year's payroll. So if they brought it up to, if they brought it up even to 55%, from 448, what would that do? 448, 55% would bring it up to 246. I mean, you got it, and that's next year's payroll tax is 244. So they got to be bringing it up to the. If they got to compete and they don't want to go over, they got to at least bring it up to the 244 mark next year.
Sure, and you go and you bring in your new manager, fine, but if he doesn't have the players to compete, he's not going to be any more successful than Melvin was. The manager is, he may be good for a few wins during the year, but changing the philosophy, and there's definitely room for improvement. The manager can make a difference, but who's in your pitching rotation? You got to have a good rotation if you're going to have a chance at being a playoff team or even getting anywhere in the playoffs. And we've seen that this entire playoffs, pitching. So are they going to spend some money on this team this offseason? And whether or not this manager move is a success has a lot to do with what are the moves from here until March or April.
Yeah, and we know Tony's no dummy. This guy is a brilliant mind. I'm sure those questions were addressed in the interview. He's not taking this job if Buster's not committed to go out and get the players. And the other thing it could be is, Larry, I want to get your take on this. I have said that I think the Giants are going to try to go for it in 26. And if for some reason they are falling flat on their faces with the Matt Chapmans, the Adamises, the Devers, the Lees, the Webbs, all these guys that are taking up the majority of their payroll, and they're not in contention for a playoff berth at the trade deadline next year, I got to believe Buster says enough of this and says, I got Tony Vitello here. I'm going to go in a direction that we're going young. We're going to blow this thing up. And I think they spend the money this offseason to try and be a very competitive team. And if it doesn't work, you can't keep spending the money. You're going to eventually have to do something different. What do you think on that?
Well, the Dodgers seem to be able to keep spending the money. I mean, this is big business. I agree with that part of it. This is big business. You got to bring, you got to spend money to make money. And it's just simple. And, you can cry about, you got two options if you're the Giants. You can sit in your office and cry about it, or you can do something about it. And it's really that simple. And when I say do something about it, if the Giants are going to have a chance, they don't necessarily have to spend dollar for dollar, but they're going to have to spend a lot more. So if the Dodgers are going to spend, I don't know, $350 million, I think the Giants have to be at $250 million. If the Dodgers are going to spend $375, I think the Giants have got to be at least at $275. Otherwise, and that's just like in the revenue's there to support that, and the crowds are there to support that. The Giants drew 3 million fans. I went to a bunch of games this year. The place is packed. They're minting money. They own the entire ballpark. They've owned it forever. They've paid off their mortgage the 20-year mortgage in 7 years. The thing is absolutely minting money. They just need to not be so satisfied with the Giants' problem right now is that they've got too many owners who can look down at their hand and see too many rings.
Yeah.
And it's hard to be satisfied making a multi-million-dollar profit in the present, your assets growing at a rate that's just astronomical, and you're looking at your hand and you're seeing 3 rings, and it's like, yeah, they're old, but they're still beautiful, So they need to stop focusing on that and start focusing on the future and a game plan that can help them be competitive internationally, because that's where the money's being spent. The Padres are beating you in the international market badly. The Dodgers are beating you in the free agent market, and now they own Japan. The Dodgers are producing more players in their farm system. I mean, how do you hope to compete? The Dodgers have guys that they can sign that they don't even have to use until it's time to win. All right, let's dust off this guy. He's awesome, and we'll just put him out there. It reminds me of the Yankees with El Duque in the late 90s. Hey, we don't even care if El Duque pitches in June, July. Just make sure he gets a few tune-up starts, and we'll pitch him in October. That's what they did. And they pickle jarred him. So that's what the richest teams can do, but it's gotten to be a joke. And but you got to keep it within 100 million or you have no shot. And they got to, so that means you got to go spend money. You got to go get Kyle Tucker. And if Tony Vitello, the one thing I'll say this to everybody listening, and watching. And NorCal Sports Network, God bless everybody, we're big fans. But I did an interview with him on KMBR in June or July. When was the amateur draft? It was at the All-Star break, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so they drafted the kid from Tennessee, Gavin Keelan or whatever, and so we had him on KMBR. We had a long interview with him, and he's a live wire, man. He's high energy, he's smart, he's motivated, he's got things going on, but he's got things going on at the college level. Gino Auriama's got things going on. Doesn't mean I'm going to hire him to coach the Warriors. Why? Because Steve Kerr's got a master touch. He's been there. He's played pro sports, and he can look those guys in the eye and say, I got rings. I won championships. I played with Jordan. Listen to me. Tony, we're going to find out. What kind of contract does he get? What kind of tenure does he have? What does his line of, as Gary would say, his line of bull, do the guys buy it? Or do they tune him out because he's a college rah-rah guy? We're going to find out. Is he a high school Harry, college Colin kind of a guy, or they can't adapt? Or is he a guy that's a brilliant baseball guy on the cutting edge and is going to be a massive success anywhere he goes? A la, Jimmy Johnson or something in football in the late 80s with the Hurricanes and then the Cowboys. It was all about Jimmy Johnson. Is this all about Tony Vitello? He is that kind of a vibrant, strong personality. He's not weak. He's smart. He's driven. But is he driven? I don't know. It might be good to drive Devers, but Devers may hate you. And if Devers hates you because you're driving him, do you last? So there's a lot of things to consider here. You know what I'm saying? And it's not as easy as he's got the credentials. But I would definitely go. It's on my Twitter from like a week ago. I tweeted it, a link to it. Go watch, go listen to the interview Greg Silver and I did with him. You'll get a feel for who he is and some of his philosophies. And it's interesting, but if this is the interesting move and it's not followed up with Kyle Tucker and pitchers, I need to see them add about 9 pitchers that can start before I'm going to feel good about their chances.
That's what I've been saying. Get through the pitching.
I need to see them add a lot of pitchers.
Yeah. So
and it's all about the talent. And they add some talent now.
Yeah, we've been talking about this. He's 47, no wife, no kids. He's going to be fully dedicated to this job. And this guy is not – I talked to Tony Basilio yesterday in Knoxville. He's going to join us a little later. Tony is a good friend of Tony Vitello's and said this guy is a proven winner. He hates losing. His biggest worry is that is Tony Vitello going to be able to handle losing a minimum of 65 games? Because, my concern is Tennessee's probably never even gone through a 5-game losing streak. What's he going to do when they start losing 5-6 in a row? Because every major league team goes through it. But this guy is going to be relentless at this job. And I kind of think I like the move for this reason, and I'm in agreement with Dieter. It couldn't get any worse. So if it fails, it fails. What have the Giants been doing for the last 9 years? They've had one winning season in 2021, and they have been one of the most boring teams. They're hard to watch, Larry. Doing these post-game shows the last few years has been very difficult with a team that doesn't do anything exciting. So, as Dieter said,
I credit you, man. I've long since abandoned ship. I'm hoping for the best, but it's as far as I'm concerned, I've lost a little bit of confidence just because the disparity has gotten so crazy between them and the Dodgers, and it's gotten to be. Baseball's always been a little bit of a stacked card game, but now the team that's really dominating the sport is your arch rival and it's in your face. And it's really hard to diagnose. This is something he has to talk about. Hopefully it worked, but it turns out that be followed up with some spending on roster of significance, or what's this about? Because the farm system is solid, but not spectacular. And Eldridge struck out at a ridiculous rate and hit 107. To think that he's on the verge of the roster doesn't make sense to me. So where are you going to get those middle of the order bats? I need to see some middle of the order bats.
Yeah, I would love to see him go after Tucker and the guy from Japan. I can't think of his name, Morakatna or whatever his name is. But the crazy thing is he's third base is locked up. So, but you're passing on a guy who could be a generational talent, who's a huge power hitter, and you're stuck with an aging veteran for the next 5 years at third base. So I wasn't crazy about that with Buster, going out and getting Chapman for 6 years, but we'll see. I mean, the Dodgers have a very good shot of getting both of those guys. And if they do, it's just adding, fuel to the fire, salt to the wound. It's not going to be pretty if the Dodgers end up with Kyle Tucker and this third baseman, which they actually have an opening next year because Muncy is free agent, and I'm sure they'd like a younger version at third base. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
They have to overpay. It's just simple as that. They don't have to go for the top guy, but they have to have a plan to spend, within $100 million to the Dodgers, or this thing has gotten out of hand, and it's like the fans are engaged. If the fans weren't engaged, I'd be like, well, maybe they should only spend within their means. But when you look at the assets appreciation and you look at the revenue in the sport and where it's going with the gambling and everything, you're fools if you're penny pinching in baseball in 2025. You're a fool.
Yeah,
because the revenue streams are growing to such a degree that you better start spending now, because your chances of winning are not, in a wide open, wild west situation where everybody can do what they want, which is what they have right now. This thing's about to explode in an unequal way that is beyond belief. I mean, just think about it. Dodgers are in the World Series. They have lost one playoff game, and they're announcing weeks ahead of time that they're all in on Kyle Tucker, who's the number one free agent, and the number one international free agent. It's like they are hyper aggressive and are building a totally different building model, a totally different deal than what everybody else is doing in baseball. And it's like, do you want to compete with that, or do you want to put up your flag and say, you know what, we can't compete with that. We're going to be some Oakland A's plus kind of thing. I don't know. I mean,
well, the Dodgers, they have one big hole and they're probably going to fill it with Tucker because Conforto was just no good for them. He just didn't fit the mold of all the rest of the players on the team. But even, if the Dodgers were this huge juggernaut and you had to beat the Dodgers, and you might be daunted to try and do that. But the fact that you have all these wild cards, it's never been easier to make the playoffs. Even if you don't beat the Dodgers, if you fall a little short, you have this safety net of getting into the playoffs and being able to have postseason baseball and compete to try and win another championship. And they don't even take advantage of that. They can't even make the playoffs with 3 wild cards.
Yeah,
so,
they've got to make the playoffs. Mark Graves.
Why not?
Says, Vitello needs to shave the cat beard. No food videos. Yeah, could you imagine? He comes in and he starts doing food videos. That would be hilarious. No, this guy is. Hey, I don't know if you guys watched the MLB draft. I happened to watch it, and this guy Tony Vitello knows everything about the top first, second round guys. He knew everything on them. He probably recruited several of them and didn't get those guys. Some of them were on his team, but this guy is I believe he's gonna be a voice in the Giants' future draft picks. No, I mean, you got your scouts to do that, and your front office. That's their role. But I would think a guy like Tony Vitello wouldn't hurt to hear his voice on certain players, and that can only be a plus. Larry, let me ask you this: Buster drafted Gavin Killeen and then traded for Drew Gilbert and Blade Tidwell, all from the University of Tennessee. Do you think there could have been anything happening in July, conversations going on, or do you think that's just coincidental?
That's a great question. Once again, I have to go back and listen to the interview that I did.
I think we've lost your cell. You got a bad cell or something because it's just all muffled. I'm not sure if your signal's not great right now.
In Santa Clara, I'm under an overpass. Now I'm driving away from that.
A little better there.
Almost at it'll be better in just a sec.
Okay.
Give me a minute. Maybe you guys can talk.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's interesting.
Better now?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. It is interesting. There's 4 players in the Giants organization.
Yeah. I just wonder if, how sometimes these things you just have a way of, working out. I mean, the fact that they drafted the kid from.
That could have been how they got to know each other for sure. They, that could have been how Buster and Tony got a chance to speak. I would have to go back and listen to the interview I did with them because I do know that there was some talk about Buster, and he seemed to either reference to. I'd have to go back and listen to it again, but I thought he referenced, some relationship there. Or he definitely had strong opinions about Buster and strong opinions about. He voiced those in that interview. So I do think there was kind of a relationship building over time there. And maybe it is that that they feel that they've got to handicap the next couple college drafts to really get it rolling. They got to really win the next 2, amateur drafts in a big way to get the kinds of players that Buster, thinks can win the next World Series title team. And maybe he feels like having Tony gives them major advantage in that, in that he knows the SEC like the back of his hand. The SEC is the deepest market for amateur talent in the college game. So I think that absolutely is a strategy. I think it makes sense. I think it's sound reasoning and exciting. But there's also that's part of it. If you can get the right players, it's part of it. But there's an awful lot of managing the guys and managing the room and keeping the whole thing together and having the thing not fracture and teams grow together, they grow apart. So you need somebody who can identify talent better because they're not doing a good enough job. So maybe he can really help them in that regard. And if he does, and it's significant, they can find the next, Buster Posey and the next great players like we've seen come out of the SEC. Maybe that's the ticket for the next generation. But I'm more concerned about how do you communicate with Ramos? How do you communicate with Devers? How do you communicate with Adames? How do you handle a bullpen? How does your shtick wear on a 162 schedule? You're right. He's not used to losing. When he loses, does he overreact? Does it come across to the guys as kind of amateur hour because he's overreacting to losses in April that, all managers, at the pro level just take in stride? there's a lot of nuance to this that's going to be proven over time. I think we have to have some faith in Buster because I think Buster is a smart baseball guy, and he's earned the right for this opportunity. But man, this is it's a wild stab. It's never been done before. It worries me when you go this never been done before kind of approach. I hope he doesn't turn into college Kapler. We'll see.
Yeah. I got a feeling, I talked to Ned, texted me a couple days ago about this, and I threw my thoughts out about the draft and stuff, and he said that's a really good thought, about him knowing all these players. I was just shocked at him being so knowledgeable on every player, and he just gave a breakdown. And you got to figure this guy, a lot of these kids, he probably sat at the kitchen table with the parents and the kid trying to recruit him, and then game planning against several of these players in the SEC. But I was listening to him during the draft, and I was like, wow, this guy's sharp. And then I realized who it was. I never dreamt that he might be, the Giants manager someday, or within 3-4 months of this. But I kind of like the whole idea of it, simply because what's the alternative? What is the alternative? What are we looking at in terms of, Bob Melvin was the 20th winningest manager all time, right? And I've heard all these people's responses against this move saying no experience. Well, Melvin had tons of experience. Was a top 20 all-time manager, and what did he do that was successful? So I don't think it gets worse. And if it gets worse, so be it. At least they took a risk. They're doing something other than the same boring crap that they've been doing for the since Bochy left, really. And Bochy, when he left, the organization was going down. The team was terrible the last 2 years, 3 years. 17, 18, and 19 were not good years. So, and I guess the Giants have just officially announced the hiring, which is great. So I like the idea. I think it brings some accountability to. I think Vitello's going to be very. He's not going to put up with stuff. I don't think Elliot Ramos gets to go out and play continuously if he's running the bases like he was last year and continues to make the same mistakes. So I think it's good.
You got to have some fight. And I felt like Melvin had been worn down by all the years of managing. He just kind of lost his fight. I know Melvin would disagree with that if you heard me say that, but I just, there's a lot of resignation in his voice in the second half of the year. 2 stolen bases in July. 2 stolen base attempts in July. As there's more freaking people on this freaking live stream than you had stolen base attempts in the month of July in your baseball team tonight. What the hell? What are we talking about? That's too static, Bob. That's too static. And whatever. He didn't have the speed. They don't have the athletes. But he just kind of been in that kind of like, we didn't have enough.
Yeah.
Andy,
I think.
I got to go to.
Yeah, I think you got to jump, and we'll let you go, Larry. Hey, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Larry.
Fellas.
All right. Larry Krueger from the Krug Show. You all know him as he puts out the best 49er content on YouTube. So if you're a football fan or 49er fan, go on over to the Krug Show and subscribe.
Like I said, the Giants have released a press conference. Buster Posey says, "We're thrilled to welcome Tony to the Giants family," said President of Baseball Operations Buster Posey. "Tony is one of the brightest, most innovative, most respected coaches in college baseball today. Throughout our search, Tony's leadership, competitiveness, and commitment to developing players stood out. His ability to build strong, cohesive teams and his passion for the game align perfectly with the values of our organization. We look forward to the energy and direction he will bring, along with the memories to be made as we focus on the future of Giants baseball. They will not have a press conference until Thursday.
Oh,
he'll be
tomorrow.
Next Thursday after the World Series.
Okay, after. Well, oops, I just dropped my phone. Hold on here.
So on the 30th.
Let's see. Today is what, the 22nd?
Yeah.
So that must be an off day because the World Series still could be going on.
It's between game 5 and 6.
Okay. Yeah. Unless they've already got it figured out that.
Because I guess maybe tomorrow would have been too quick to get it scheduled.
Yeah.
So they had to wait for an off day.
Very good. The day after game 5. When the series is over, right?
That's pretty funny. They're like, yeah, when the World Series is over, then we'll have the press conference, and there's still 2 games after that. That
interesting.
Probably won't be.
Senior
played.
says my opinion is Posey actually liked playing under Kapler and see a lot of Cap and Tony V without all the social media warrior crap. Maybe, Gabe was just, he wasn't a bad baseball guy. He just had so many idiosyncrasies, just some weird stuff about him that that I think
that, but also he was not fiery. He never got thrown out of a game.
Right. Yeah, Tony's fiery. Tony Vitello is fiery. You could go on and look at some stuff on the web, and you can find all kinds of videos of him getting tossed out of games, which I love it. I love seeing passion. I'm excited for this move. Tennessee baseball. Let's put out let me put out a few things on here about Tony. You can see this is historic. Congratulations to Tony Vitello, making history as the first collegiate head coach to move directly to Major League Baseball manager. There you have it. 24 World Series. Transformed the program into a powerhouse. Will be the first from college to the bigs without any pro experience. Look at this. Legendary run by Tony Vitello at Tennessee. 52 players drafted, 10 first-round picks, 341 wins, 2 SEC regular season titles, 2 SEC tournament titles, 5 regional championships, 3 college World Series berths, 1 national championship. There you have it. Even year dynasty. So we'll be going live. Okay, so you catch more over there with Cody. There he is sliding into the. Let's watch that one more time. That was pretty cool. Yeah, the guy loves to have fun, and but there's Drew Gilbert. Okay, so a lot of things out there, and yeah, fun stuff. So yeah, let me see if we got any more comments down here. Could Melvin slide like that? Maybe in his 20s when he was with the Giants. I don't even know.
Just maybe.
Just maybe. Guys, it's going to definitely be an interesting topic. So I am going to step away for a sec, and we'll be back, and we'll close this out. But Dallas, take over. Give your more thoughts while I step away for a sec. All right?
Sure, yeah.
Be right back.
So I'm just looking at the Twitter feed here. There's a lot of highlights of him getting into it with umpires and stuff, which are pretty good. we've got John Dickinson, KMBR. Vitello is kind of a hire a lot of people love. Fire, passion, different, until he actually has to manage pros. This feels like a home run or a flame out, no in between. Reminds me of Kapler hire with one difference. Vitello seems genuine while Kapler was as phony as the $3 bill. JD on KMBR was pretty down on this hire. He did not like the idea. Maybe coming around a little bit, but it could be flame out or home run. But what really is the downside? You know, it doesn't work. Do the Giants finish 10 games under 500? I mean, they have a decent enough roster. They're probably, the bottom is probably not going to fall out when you've got Devers and Adames and Chapman and these proven guys on your team. So I think the downside is status quo. It doesn't work, you know, but I think the upside is he lights a fire and he can change the mindset of the team in order to avoid prolonged losing streaks. Get to the point where, the just style of play could change to where they get a few more wins. Some of these close games, they end up taking a W instead of an L. It doesn't take that much. You're at 500 right now. You need to win 10 more games next season, and you're in the playoffs legitimately. 10 more games. Hell, if you win 15 more games, then you're one of the, in the conversation for one of the great Giants teams, when you get close to 100 wins or, 96 wins or whatever, then you're, have a really good team. So it's going to matter of the pieces they put in place. But I think he could add excitement to the team one side is it could fail and they finish 500 again and it doesn't work. But say they start winning and they start building something, they start getting on a good streak. What's going to happen? He has the type of personality where the fans start buying into what he's selling, and they might start showing up. We might start seeing more sellouts next year as the fans kind of buy in. If the players buy in, then something special could really start to happen. So I don't know that, on the one side, it could not work and we're probably in the same boat, but on the upside, it could actually make a difference. And we could start to see that magic start to happen around the ballpark where the fans are showing up and buying in and there's a lot of engagement in the team, kind of like how the Padres are, where the fans are really selling out every game and they're really into it. And that type of enthusiasm, energy, spark can translate to the team on the field. And then, you start to have the particles and the magic that we've saw, back in the World Series years. So that's a good point. They do need good players, Mark. Definitely. They need another couple of pieces in on the team, hitters basically, and then they need pitching.
Yep. Hey, so check this out.
The work is just beginning.
The Giants officially announced the hiring of Tony Vitello and will pay him the highest contract in Major League Baseball history for a first-year manager. He will earn in excess of $3 million a year without the benefits, according to two persons with direct knowledge of his contract. Vitello, who was earning $3.3 million annually with salary and benefits, will be taking a pay cut to manage the Giants in his new deal. Giants still owe fired Bob Melvin $4 million in 26. So they were able to.
That's a Giants friendly deal, though. Maybe it's the most ever for a first time manager, but it's a lateral move for him, basically.
It's a lateral move in the sense of finances. But what I kept hearing from Tony Basilio is this is not about money. He's not about money, Tony Vitello. He's got tons of integrity. This was not him holding out for a better deal, trying to get the University of Tennessee to pony up more and then leverage the two against each other. This was all about him becoming a big league manager. And remember, the Giants had to pay out $3 million to get him out of his contract to the university. So I think what happens here,
it's about winning for him. It's about the next level.
Yeah,
so,
it's next level
at
winning.
341, at 341 and 131, he has risen to the highest ranks in the college ranks. You're not going to do better than that. So he had his eye on getting to the majors, and this is his opportunity. But I don't think that he's the type of personality where this is it for him. Okay, I made it. Yay. No, he's going to want to win here, and he's going to want to win World Series here. I don't think that this guy has a ceiling that he's trying to reach, and then he's going to hit the ceiling, and that'll be it. I think he probably has the motivation where he wants to keep going, and that is a good sign for the Giants.
Is my sound scratchy? I'm not sure.
Not to me.
Okay. All right. Maybe that was.
Is my sound?
You're good. You're good.
All right.
Okay. Look.
Maybe he's delayed, and Larry's sound was scratchy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Larry's was rough. A lot of people, I've heard this talk about him not having experience. It's not like he doesn't know baseball. My goodness. He's reached the highest level of college baseball. And I think you're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years a shift in the game where, we saw Brandon Belt play with Toronto in the 22 season. Was it the 22 or 23 season? Might have been the 23 season. Can't remember. When Belt, I think it was a 23 season.
23 was his last year.
Yeah. He had look at his numbers. What did he hit? Like 250 something?
254.
Okay, and he had an OPS of like 800, didn't he?
858.
And he didn't even get a job next year. An 858 OPS, and no one brought him on. Now, to me, that's crazy. I think the game is going to get younger. I think the game is going to be more of what you see in college and international ball, where you see guys celebrating more. And you remember the generation that hates any celebrations, that is the older generation. They're starting to, hate to say it, but kind of die off. I'm kind of at the maybe early part of that older generation that said, hey, you hit a home run, you put the bat down and you run around the bases and you don't get excited. That's changing. I'm telling you, that's changing, because you look at these kids that are going through travel ball, they're getting emotional, they get excited, they're watching, you're seeing players do it in the major leagues. Go watch in the offseason, watch the Dominican play Venezuela. And
that's the big difference, I think, is that there's different cultures are prevalent in baseball now. And so
what I'm saying
they're
is
bringing a different energy to than what was the status quo for many, many years.
Right. And baseball had one of its better years this past year with the finances and attendance. And it's because you're seeing more celebration. If you just played baseball the way it was played in the 70s and 80s, young kids would not be interested. You just look at the Blue Jays when, the home run that, sorry, hold on. I gotta turn this off.
Beto says, hey, Dan and Dallas, I brought up Vitello a little over a week ago, and you guys seem to not really like the idea because he was inexperienced in the majors. What made you guys come around to the idea? Yeah, Beto, I wasn't on board with it. I didn't think that he didn't have experience. So I didn't think they were going to go that route. That was what I was saying. But I think my renewed confidence in this comes just from Buster Posey. I know that he's not a guy that makes crazy decisions or off the cuff decisions. He puts thought into it. He makes calculated moves. he is not just making a move just because, well, he was available. I think that he has put a lot of thought into this, and he wouldn't be doing this if he wasn't, based on his conversations with Vitello, if he wasn't reasonably assured that this is a good move. So my confidence in it comes from just my understanding of Buster Posey and watching him over the past 15 years or however long it's been. So yeah, it is kind of a change for me. I think I wasn't on board with it, but I can get on board now. I think just because I'm not. I do think there's question marks, but I'm going to reserve judgment because I don't know. I'm not there. I haven't talked to the guy. I haven't been privy to any conversations, and I don't know what the plans are. I'm just a fan. So if this is the way we're going, then reserve judgment and see if it works out. There's a lot of people out there that are very negative on it, and hating the move, and I can't be on board with this or whatever. Well, maybe they're going to eat their words later. So I'm going to go with cautiously optimistic and trust that, we hired Posey for a reason, and he has, based on all of his experience in baseball, made this decision, and we have to say, okay, let's see what we're doing here. And if it works, then we're in really great shape. If it doesn't work, we're kind of right where we are. So got to hope that it works. So yeah, but there is a change, because when all those names were floating around, I didn't see it as a possibility because it had never happened before. I didn't think it was going to happen. But it has happened. It's here. And hopefully it works out, because the upside is huge. This guy is a proven winner in the college ranks. And if he is a smart baseball guy and he has the interpersonal skills to be able to take what he did in college and translate that to the major leagues, then it's going to be really great for the Giants. And I think in Posey's estimation, he has that ability to be able to make that jump. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made the signing. It's that simple. Let's see here. Ben Bam Boom. If we hired this guy after all the better managerial candidates turned us down, I would be much more on board. Well, who turned us down? Nick Hundley turned us down because he wants to spend more time with his family. He turned us down the last time we were hiring a manager when they hired Bob Melvin. So he's won. Was anybody else offered the job that you know of? I don't think that Mark DeRosa was offered the job. I don't think that Yadier Molina was offered the job. I think maybe there was conversations. I don't think Kurt Suzuki was offered the job. They interviewed him. They liked him. And then the Angels went ahead and hired him. So I'm not sure. This may have been one of the top two choices that Posey had. If indeed Hundley was offered the job, I don't know if he was, or if he took his name out of contention before the offer came through. This may have been Buster's top pick. We don't know. Since I've been on here, I haven't read all of the articles that have come out. But Pavlovich says Buster gets his guy, meaning like this was the guy that Buster wanted. So that's
what Rod Dunham is saying right here. That let me see, where did it go? This was Posey's number one pick for the manager. I go back to this, guys. I have to laugh at people who said they love Buster and they just, Buster's going to turn this team around. Buster this. And I've heard it on different medias, whether it's on Twitter or statements like that, or on YouTube, that they love Buster and you just got to trust Buster. And now they're questioning this hire because he doesn't have any experience, and they think you got to have a guy with big league experience. To me, if you trust to say and if you're now, I have been not always like the guy that says Buster is going to turn this thing around. I don't know if Buster is going to turn it around. People are convinced that he will. I'm kind of like with Dieter, that at least he's doing something. Whether it works or not, we don't know. We don't know if this is going to work. There's no guarantee. If they brought Bruce Bochy back, that it was going to work, right? So I think that this is a bold move. I like the move, but to criticize the move just because he doesn't have experience in the big leagues, at least they're doing something. At least they're doing something that is not boring. I am tired of just boring. And I think the Giants are going to be a much funner team to watch. So, yeah, the love, exactly, Mark, the love of Buster being, look, my dog is named Buster, right? There he is. Look at him. There's Buster right there, sitting in the corner. And, hey, the Cubs hat fell down, Buster. We'll have to pick that up. But my dog's named Buster after Buster Posey. I love Buster Posey. But I'm not sure that he turns the Giants around. But he does have he's doing something. He's doing something. Payton 616 says, Dan, he doesn't even have experience in the minor leagues. Right. He never played. Yeah. Mark's dog's name is Posey. There we go. Buster and Posey. Look, guys, I hear you what you're saying. He doesn't have minor league experience. But how did that work for you with Gabe Kapler and Bob Melvin? How did that work? How did Bob Melvin do in 2 years? He finished under 500. And, so I'm not, that doesn't bother me. The guy has a successful background. There are coaches throughout all of sports that have no experience at a pro level or high school that went to college and they didn't have any college level. Look, there's so much of that, and guys that are successful generally become successful in whatever they do because that's the type of people they are. They're just successful people. If you're good at something, it's not like he's going from college baseball and he's taking a job in football. It's still the same sport, okay? It's like going from high school basketball coach to college basketball coach to professional basketball coach. Guys have done it and been successful in different sports. So, is it going to, it could be a flop. I admit that. It could be a flop. As JM says it perfectly, there's no guarantee in anything. Correct. You could hire Bochy. You could hire Stephen Vogt away from Cleveland. Look, it all comes down to, do you have the right personnel? You have to have the personnel. So you could, look, as I said, that 93 team that Dusty Baker took over, they had Will Clark, Barry Bonds, and Matt Williams. All right? They had a team that was built. They had good players. This Dodgers team, do you honestly think that I think just about everyone who's listening to this program right now could go out and, if you know anything about baseball, you could probably manage the LA Dodgers and you would have got the LA Dodgers into the playoffs this year, your first year without any experience, simply because they are loaded with talent. So if they don't get the talent here in San Francisco, they're not going to win. Read the Around the Foghorn article on Kruko's take on this guy. All right, let me is that on Twitter? Let's see. Vespis 5 says this would be similar to jumping from getting your high school diploma and just going directly into a PhD program, skipping your bachelor's and master's degree. I don't think it's like that. I mean, you can't go from that. That's a huge jump from that's skipping your bachelor's and master's degree, getting a PhD. That'd be pretty tough to do. Look, this might be tough. It might be tough, guys, but we'll see. Truth Hurts says, I would have hired someone who is well respected in the baseball world to bring some big name talent. Well, look, the guy's got the respect of a lot of people. Max Scherzer loves the guy and thinks he'll be very, very successful. Max Scherzer was at the University of Missouri when Tony Vitello was there as a pitching coach. So it's entitled Mike Krukow Warns. Okay, let me see if I can find that. That was under. Hold on here. Let me see. Yeah, a bench coach. I think it might be Ron Wotus, guys. That's I don't know. I have no idea. It could be Brandon Hyde, but let me give you my thoughts on why I think it might be Ron Wotus. Ron Wotus is not going to be the manager of any big league team. He's 64, but he is very well respected. He's a very intelligent guy. He's been around the big leagues. He's been Bruce Bochy's assistant or bench coach for years. He's been a great Giant. He would be a guy that would kind of get him used to the organization. And he would be very positive. Ron Wotus, very positive guy. We'll see. We'll see. Do I think he'll bring any of his Tennessee personnel? Hard question. I don't know. Maybe one or two. I can't see it. The Giants staff being made up of everybody from that would be gone like what Kapler did and bringing all these inexperienced people in. But Buster was on that team, so maybe Buster really liked that. I don't know. Yeah, exactly, D-Shot. Buster is respected. The players should respect the hire. Exactly. I don't think Buster Posey hires this guy. Look, you got to realize people are talking about big league players aren't going to respect him. The man that hired him is a Hall of Fame catcher and one of the most adored players in San Francisco Giants history, who's only 37 years old. You think Buster would hire a guy he didn't respect? I mean, Come on. Think about that. Why would Buster Posey hire this guy who Buster's been around big league baseball for how many years was he been around baseball? Almost 20, right? 15, 18 years. Started in when he was drafted in 2008. So what is that, 17 years? I think Buster I think if Buster thought these guys aren't going to respect this guy, I think he wouldn't have respected him.
Yeah, the fact that he's doing this is evidence to that he thinks that he can handle it. Otherwise, I don't think that he would make this decision. So
yeah, and he's not just trying to be different. He likes this guy. He really believes that this guy is the guy to help the Giants get where they want to go.
He also probably thinks that this guy is going to make the jump at some point, and he's going to have success. Why not it be here as opposed to
correct
somewhere else?
Yeah. I'm trying to find the chat is moving on me here. Where was geez, it's really hard to move hold on here. Let me do it this way.
Am I muted?
No. Go ahead, and I'm looking for something here. Kruko is nixing this move. Any Busters respect the players should respect. One of the greatest managers of all time. Spent most of his playing career in the minor leagues, and the majority of his professional time was spent managing. Yeah. Ben Bamboo, I'm looking for that. Where was it? Hey, Dan, I asked Dallas what made you guys come around. Dan, I asked Dallas what made you guys come around on the idea of Vitello after not really liking the idea of him as a manager because of experience. I don't know if I ever really made any comments that I recall. Maybe I did. I don't remember if I made any comments. I think it's just, look, would we be happier if the Giants hired Brandon Hyde today? Would that make some of the people feel better? They got an experienced manager. I really think this guy's an exceptional communicator, and he's dedicated to the work, and he's going to put in all of his efforts, and he's an easy communicator. I think people are really going to just find it. Okay, around the foghorn. I was looking for that. All right, let me see if I can find that. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. I don't see this as a move that. How do I say it? I don't see this as a move that's all that risky. Where are the Giants going? You know, like what Dieter's saying, where were they going? You know, I don't know. Okay, so here's the article. I'm going to pull this up, and okay, so Mike Kruko. Haven't read the article yet. All right. Mike Kruko warns of some issues with the Giants potentially hiring Tony Vitello. He believes Vitello will have some things to learn. This was put out yesterday by Around the Foghorn by Nick San Miguel. The big name in the search for the next Giants manager as of late has been University of Tennessee head coach Tony Vitello. Giants broadcaster Mike Kruko warns there could be some issues if the team hires him, though. The Giants are reportedly closing in to land the job. Okay, let's get to what Kruko. He may not have been the first choice of president of baseball ops, Buster Posey, but he represents roughly the same thing that Nick Hundley hire would have, with a shift in energy and a much younger manager taking over. Still, if a deal with Vitello falls through, Posey will have egg on his face. Even if a deal is reached, there's still a lot of risk involved. Vitello has no experience. Okay, getting the first. Kruko believes this is just one reason some issues could arise. He appeared on KMBR yesterday. There's going to be some issues. There's a lot of culture up there that he's going to have help with. I mean, think about just the culture in the clubhouse, the culture on the road, how to travel, how to tip, how to deal with media. He's never dealt with media like he's going to be dealing with in San Francisco. Those are all things that are issues I don't think are easy. He went on to say that he views Vitello as more of an analytical candidate, which is a word that is very divisive among Giants fans, but also said he has heard good things about him and credited him with being a good communicator. He said he almost seemed a little bit of a hybrid between Kapler and Melvin, and that he can communicate well while also embracing the new way of the game is played. But Kruko is right that if Vitello is going to have to deal with a lot of new things if he ends up, nothing is okay. So that's not, I don't know if that's being super critical other than just pointing out some obvious things that he's going to have to learn. I don't know. How important does that affect the play on the field, tipping guys and going on the road trip? So you go on a few road trips and you learn like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to handle it this way. Is that going to affect the play on the field? I mean, those are things that, I don't know if that matters, Dallas. To me, it's just looking for things that, to me, it sounds like, how do I say this? It's like Kruko saying, hey, get off my lawn. I'm an old veteran major leaguer. You're on my lawn. Get off my lawn, man. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think he's of the school of thought where the big leagues is something different, and I don't know. Hopefully, maybe he has to be proven wrong too. There's a lot of people that are not down on the selection, but have their reservations about it, and obviously he's one of them. So this is a question. Can he make the leap to the major leagues? Is he diplomatic enough to be able to adjust his managing style to deal with millionaires as opposed to college kids? And that's going to be the question, So I think it's a legitimate concern. I think, you have to, it remains to be seen. We're not going to know how this experiment goes. It's never been done before, and it's a legitimate concern. And Posey obviously thinks that he can make it work. So I guess we wait and see what happens.
I'm kind of like where Rod's at on this. Vitello is the best hire in baseball world today for the future. Yeah, I think the game is going to be changing a little bit more and more. And this guy is, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a financial situation that comes to the game. What happens if Buster Posey is light years ahead of everybody else in planning that this game becomes more a 20 to 30-year-old game, right? What happens if it becomes 20 to 30-year-old game, and because of the finances and guys that are starting to, fade into their 30s aren't making the millions and millions of dollars someday because maybe there's an economic crash, maybe something happens where you've got to have somebody that is on the cutting edge of knowing how to recruit and develop very young players. I don't know. Anything could happen, right? 5 years from now, 3 years from now, got a new CBA coming. What happens if players, like I said, they really, when I say 20 to 30, I stretch it to like 32, 33. But what happens if some of these older guys, like I mentioned, Brandon Belt has an 858 OPS his last year and doesn't even get offered a job by anybody? Why? Well, he's injury prone. He can't run, got bad knees, can hit. I don't know. I think this is kind of cutting edge move. And I like what NorCal Sports Talk Live saying here. Players are very, very talented right now. They can hit and they can pitch with velocity, but they do not play fundamental baseball, a lot of these younger kids. They're not learning the fine arts of the fundamentals of the game. Remember, Tony Vitello's father was a great coach and taught him a lot about coaching. And coaching, I've been in arguments with people online a year or two ago with people telling me, like, we saw Casey Schmidt go halfway this year on a fly ball to deep center field or right field. I can't even remember where the ball was hit, but it caught at the fence. And he was halfway between first and second. Yeah, it was to center field. And there was one out. And he went halfway. And the guy made the great catch, and he ended up staying on second. And Casey made a comment back to the player, hey, with less than one out or something like that, you tag. With one out, you go halfway because you can't score, basically, if you're sitting on second base and the guy drops the ball. We saw that with Teoscar Hernandez, couldn't even score from third base on a fly ball to center field. He took off a few steps, went back to tag up, and got thrown out at the plate. So fundamentally, there's a lot of guys that don't understand the game that are coming in now. And I think Tony's going to teach fundamentals. And I think that's why Tennessee is at the top of college baseball, because they do things better than other teams. They do the little things better. Sometimes it's the little things that you do that can win you that extra 10 games you're talking about that the Giants need. Not so much what the manager's decisions of pinch hitting or bringing in a reliever, that type of thing, but actually doing the fundamentals right and scoring that extra run, moving that runner along. And that is the difference of those 10 games. Instead of winning 81, you're winning 90 to 91 and getting in the playoffs, because you're moving runners over. You're moving up to the next base when you should. You're not taking off when you shouldn't. These type of things. And all of that is coaching.
Right.
So we've been going 3 hours. It's time to get out of here. Guys, I will try and maybe do another show tonight at some point. I will try and get on Tony Basilio from Knoxville. He can give us a lot of great insight into the coaching style. The man, he knows him very well. Tony Basilio's been in the Knoxville area for like 30 years. He's very well known. And he told me he would come on the show. So he's live right now. Otherwise he would be on. So I'll try and do another show with Tony Basilio from Knoxville, and we'll get his take on Tony Vitello, the manager, and Tony Vitello, the man. We want a marathon. Well, I got some work to do. Dallas has got work to do. Yeah. Cliff says, this has serious Billy Bean, Grady Foose, and Moneyball vibes. I can totally picture Buster Posey in the boardroom saying, adopt or die after the Vitello hiring. There we go. Adopt or die. Yes. I think it's a good move. I'm for it. Does it mean it works out? Does it mean that Tony succeeds? No. But I am tired of just what I love what Dieter said. Buster's pushing the red button. He's not sitting there doing nothing like the Giants have been. You know, we sat through 5 years, 6 years of Farhan. How did that work? That was pathetic. That was absolutely pathetic.
Well, if it does work out, it's going to open the floodgates. You know, if there might be more college managers that have had success that could make the jump. So
yes,
could just be the first one. Who knows?
Yes. So, hey guys, I don't know how many we got. Let me take a look here on my phone, see how many we've got watching right now on YouTube. We've got 1,370 in here in the house between Twitter and YouTube. YouTube right now, we've got we've got most of the people watching on Twitter. But if you guys would give it a like, that would be great. If those of you over watching on Twitter would give this a thumbs up, a like on Twitter, it would help push it out more. Really appreciate it. I think we've got about 123 to 130 roughly watching on YouTube. We've got saying 1,372 now watching all together. So we really appreciate that. NorCal Sports Network. Subscribe to the channel over on YouTube if you haven't done so already, and hit that like button. We really do appreciate it. We'll be bringing you more stuff, more content on this as we get it. I look to have Tony Basilio at some point today. It might be might have to do a video recording on it. If I'd like to get him on live tonight, but got to remember it's 4:13 right now in Knoxville. It's 1:13 here in California and Arizona, where I'm at right now. So appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to turn some music on, and won't talk for 10 seconds because I can't talk over the music. It doesn't let me do it. All right, guys. Appreciate so much being part of the show. We will look to be keeping it right here at NorCal Sports. Turn on the notifications bell if you would. The music's going to start up here in a second again because I didn't turn it off. I just want you to turn on those notification bell, and you'll know when we go live. I hope to get Tony Basilio from Knoxville to give us a real rundown on Tony Vitello's managerial style as a band. He knows him very well. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys probably sometime later tonight. Take care, everybody. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thanks to Dallas. Thanks to Dieter Kurtenbach, who was in here from KMBR and the San Jose Mercury, and Larry Kruger from KMBR and the Krug Show. We thank them as our guest today. Dallas, thank you to Lou Marston. And we appreciate all you guys being here. And as Rod Durnan says, Tony Vitello, yes. All right, guys, take it easy. We'll see you on later.